You'd never believe it, but I awakened an S-class ability, the power to generate infinite mana.
I thought I was destined for greatness, that every woman in the world would fall at my feet. But the start of my story was nothing like that.
Instead, everyone looked down on me. My magic was only seen as a support skill for mages and healers. I was just a lowly hunter, stuck at level 29. So in every battle, I was forced to the sidelines, a mere spectator. My only purpose was to act when the team's mages exhausted their mana. Only then would I step in to recharge them. With my power, the mage would be back at 100%, unleashing a final, devastating blow to defeat the boss. But I never received a word of thanks. To them, I was nothing more than a tool. My team leader told me I hadn't contributed much, so I should handle gathering materials from the boss's corpse. The humiliation burned, but I had no power to refuse. Isn't he supposed to be on the combat team? Why is he doing a gatherer's job? A nearby teammate sneered.
I heard his only skill is infinite mana generation. It's S-class, but it's completely useless.
Healers can already restore mana on their own. He just speeds it up a little. It's only ever useful in long boss fights like today. Against normal monsters, he's dead weight, 5 years as a hunter, and he still hasn't even hit level 30. I could only clench my fists and endure their scornful whispers. Just you wait. I vowed to myself. The moment I reached level 30, everything would change. But back at the Great Sage Guild headquarters, I was met with the news I dreaded most. Sono, they said. No one wants you in their party anymore. And since you're only level 29, clearing a dungeon by yourself is impossible. So, after some discussion, we've decided to transfer you to the business department. Your skills will be much more useful there. If I couldn't even enter dungeons, what was the point of all my suffering? In the end, I chose to walk away. However, there was a secret no one knew. My ability wasn't just infinite mana generation. In fact, my skill had awakened long before I ever became a hunter. The moment it activated, a system window materialized before my very eyes.
After I instinctively pressed copy, that window instantly transformed into food right in my hand. I thought I possessed the most powerful skill in the world, but after learning its true nature, I discovered its soul-crushing limitations.
The moment a copied item left my possession, it would dissolve into a stream of light and vanish into nothing. What was even more infuriating were the level restrictions. Any equipment far beyond my own level would simply fail to copy. But strangely enough, copied mana never disappeared. It could even be transferred to someone else. This one exception was the source of everyone's misunderstanding. The reason they called my ability infinite mana generation, while I could also copy the skills of others, they all came with their own complicated restrictions. Just then, a news alert flashed on my phone. The Klesia Dragon Sword was going on display. This legendary longsword possessed 2 special skill slots and a powerful defense-boosting effect. But its most incredible feature was that the moment someone wielded it, their level would skyrocket to 200, even though its requirement was only level 30. However, this divine weapon, hailed as a legendary sword, had only 10 durability points. That was its one fatal flaw. But for me, durability meant nothing. I could simply copy it over and over again. My path was clear. I had 1 week to reach level 30 and get my hands on that sword. So, I joined a temporary party, aiming to conquer the Giant King's spider dungeon. And there I was again, hiding behind the mage, acting as a mana battery for some arrogant blonde guy. This guy was unbelievably reckless. Every time I refilled his mana, he'd spam his ultimate attacks without a care in the world. But I couldn't be bothered with him anymore. My eyes were fixed on one thing, only how much experience I needed to finally level up. Senior Sono, staring at your status window again? A voice called out. It was Akona. He was also from the Great Sage Guild. My junior. It was a bitter irony, considering how pathetic his senior had become. I'd heard he was short on cash, so he was moonlighting on these temporary teams to make some extra money. Soon, we reached the boss's chamber.
Our opponent a terrifying level 80. Giant King Spider. The pressure was immense. Can we really defeat this thing?
My heart was pounding in my chest. Noticing my fear, Ianaga tried to reassure me. Don't worry, senior. Just stay hidden back here. Taking down the spider is simple. You just have to watch out for its silk. If you get entangled, it's nearly impossible to break free. Also, if its eggs get damaged, the Giant King Spider will enter a complete frenzy. Suddenly, the blonde mage nearby lost his patience. Ianaga, why are you explaining the strategy to a spectator? Let's just get this over with. With that, he irritably kicked a small stone at his feet. But that single stone sailed through the air and struck a strand of spider silk. In an instant, the Giant King Spider sensed the vibration. It unleashed a deafening roar and lunged toward the party. Damn it! Look what that reckless mage has done. Thankfully, our tank stepped up, blocking the blow and even severing one of the beast's legs. What are you waiting for?
Attack! The party rushed forward, unleashing a storm of their ultimate skills.
And me, I could only cower behind them. praying for my teammates. But then, disaster struck. Just as the Arachnid King unleashed its web attack, that reckless blonde mage made a fatal error. He launched a massive fireball directly at the nest. The boss itself was shielded by the webbing, but its precious eggs were incinerated, seeing its lineage destroyed. The giant king spider went absolutely berserk. It spewed a torrent of webbing in an instant. No one could react in time, and the entire party was hopelessly ensnared. Why is this happening? My flames are useless against these webs. The blonde's panicked screams drew the monster's murderous gaze.
It stalked toward him, its mandibles clicking. Only then did the fool realize his mistake, his face a mask of pure terror. No.
With one final scream, he was gone from this world. Watching this, horror gripped my heart. I was bound tight in the same webs, completely paralyzed.
Who could possibly save me now? And I knew I was its next target.
Staring into the face of that monster, despair consumed me. This was supposed to be a low-level dungeon. How did it all end up like this? But I refuse to die like this. System activate skill copy and paste. Just before death's door, my unique ability triggers. It pastes a perfect copy of my body from a moment before the fatal blow. My original self vanishes. But even this resurrection couldn't save me. The boss killed me again. Control 5. The newly revived me scrambled for cover. This isn't working. What should I do? Just as I was panicking, I heard a faint plea for help. It's Akona. He was still alive, but I could barely save myself. And the boss was closing in fast. If I did nothing, he was a dead man. Damn it. As his senior, how could I just stand by and watch my junior get slaughtered? So, I threw myself forward, sword in hand, and slammed it with all my might against the leg poised to crush him. The recoil sent me flying, but it worked. The attack was diverted, and in that moment, a system window appeared. Level 30? I stared at the panel in disbelief. What was going on? How did I suddenly level up? Did my pathetic attack actually damage it? While I was lost in thought, the boss killed me once more, Control 5. Are you kidding me? But if my attacks can hurt you, then I'm done running. Even if I die 1,000 times, I will defeat you.
For 3 days and 3 nights, the battle raged. I died 50 times. I broke nearly every single weapon my team had left behind.
But my level rose again. And now, the boss was covered in wounds. It was time to end this nightmare. I deftly dodged its web assault. As it lunged for another strike, I saw my chance. I vaulted onto its massive leg, raised my sword high, and plunged it down. I put every ounce of my strength into the blow. But my sword shattered. This is what you get with cheap, copied goods. So unreliable, I lost my balance and crashed to the ground. The beast roared in triumph. As I braced for death once more, a miracle occurred. The spot I had just struck began to crack. The fissures spiderwebbed across its entire body with a deafening explosion. The boss monster shattered into 1,000,000 pieces. At that moment, Sono collapsed to the ground, utterly spent and gasping for air. I think. I actually did it. Then, a cascade of system windows flooded my vision.
Congratulations on obtaining the giant king spider's reward. After a short rest, I hoisted a kanagasu over my shoulder, ready to leave this cursed place.
But suddenly, we were ambushed. I looked up in horror as swarms of level 30 spiderlings emerged from the shadows.
Damn it all, I might be fine, but Ayanagasu is still here. Against a horde this large, all I could do was use my body as a shield.
Just as the swarm pounced, another miracle. The lead spider was sliced in two, and a figure materialized before my very eyes.
Countless spiders rushed towards the newcomer, but this mysterious person merely lifted their weapon.
A terrifying hellfire erupted, incinerating every last spider to ashes. Hellfire, the absolute pinnacle of fire magic. Only a select few in the entire world can wield it. If I remember correctly, there is only one user in the entire island nation, the magic swordsman who wields the witch's blade, the island nation's 5th-ranked hunter. Could it be Hunter Nanesi? Are you two the only ones left? She asked, her gaze sweeping over the bodies of the high-level hunters scattered on the ground.
A low-level nobody like Sono had not only survived the boss room, but had also saved a teammate. Nessie had to wonder what in the world happened here. How did you manage this? She demanded.
Back at the Hunter Association headquarters, it turns out Hunter Nessie is also the director of Dungeon Immigration Management. After some brief questioning, Nanesi presents an item. This is the giant king spider's silk, she declared. Take the rest of the loot from this dungeon. I'll pass it along later. If that's all, you're free to leave. I couldn't believe my ears. Was it really this simple? My team wasn't registered. Technically, that's an illegal conquest. Can I really just walk away from this? She explained that things like this happen constantly. Unregistered teams, driven by greed, often enter dungeons illegally, causing countless casualties. It turns out the association has been turning a blind eye to it all along. Hearing that, I let out a huge sigh of relief. I stood up, ready to head out. But just as I reached the door, Nanesi called out, holding the spider silk. You seem to have forgotten this. No need, I replied. Give that and any other rewards to my junior. With that, I shut the door behind me. Nanesi stared down at the spider silk in her hand, completely baffled. Just what is he trying to hide? The moment I was outside, I couldn't contain it any longer. A triumphant smirk spread across my face. Perfect, I thought. The plan worked. Spider silk. An endless supply of it was now mine, the giant king spider silk. A unique item that could shoot webbing, just like the boss monster. It had incredible adhesive strength and a level 40 usage requirement.
What is this thing, I wondered. After all that trouble to kill the boss, this is what I get. First things first, I'll copy it.
But the instant my fingers made contact, the spider silk vanished into thin air. I was stunned. What just happened? Then, a system notification appeared. The giant king spider silk has been absorbed by your current skill. The value of Control 5 has increased.
I stared at the system window in total shock. My control skill? The one that let me copy anything I touched, and Control 5 let me paste them. My skill, now at level 1, had 3 new options. This was insane. I never imagined my skill could actually level up.
Without wasting a second, I tapped on the new options for Control C. Another window materialized before me.
Option 1, paste and maintain a copied object for a set amount of time. Option 2, stitch any objects together for a limited period. And Option 3, the power to unravel the giant king spider's own silk.
This evolution, it was beyond anything I could have hoped for. Now, copied items wouldn't vanish the moment they left my hand. To test it out, I decided to copy the spider silk with a 1-minute duration. And just as I hoped, it remained solid even after I let go. Exactly 1 minute later, as the timer hit 0, the silk dematerialized right on cue. I was going to be rich. Unbelievably rich. If I set the duration to 1,000 years, or even 10,000, wouldn't that basically make the copies permanent? Thinking about the fortunes I could make from this single dungeon run, I couldn't stop myself from laughing out loud. From this day forward, my life of poverty was over. The high life was waiting. Meanwhile, across the Rainbow Bridge, a heavily armored truck raced onward. This was the transport convoy for the legendary Kata Dragon Sword. The escort detail included Maul Grant, a level 112 fighter, and Ri Hugh, a level 131 mage. Both were elites from the International Hunter Association. This is the final stop for the Swords Exhibition Tour, right? You planning a vacation after this wraps up?
Maul asked his partner, Ares. I'm thinking of exploring the island nation's dungeons.
Well, here's hoping you find some real treasure this time. Ares, however, was not amused by the jab. Worrying about others will only get you killed, he shot back. Just then, a voice crackled through their comms. Control, we are now passing through the Rainbow Bridge dungeon.
Comms will be down for approximately 5 minutes due to the dungeon's interference. Hearing the report, Maul glanced out the window. A dungeon built over the ocean. He always found it so romantic. But Ares couldn't shake a growing sense of unease.
On the other side of that same bridge, at the immigration checkpoint, 2 hunters were lazily standing guard.
Fireball, Sunbei. This job is so boring, one of them complained. Fireball shot a disdainful look at his junior. Shinoda Satoru.
You're just a level 21 rookie, he scoffed. You only got this cushy post because of your connections, and you still have the nerve to complain? You should be grateful. 3 weeks ago, a massive incident happened right on this spot. But just as he spoke, something strange rolled right up to their feet. Looking closer, they saw it was a small slime. Shinoda Satoru quickly bent down and scooped it up. Wow, it's way cuter than the ones you see inside dungeons, he said. But seeing it, the color drained from Fireball's face. How can a monster be outside the dungeon? Then, in the blink of an eye, a figure materialized nearby. Fireball spun around in pure terror, only to see a giant goblin swinging a massive club right at them. Blood sprayed through the air. At that very moment, I was still at the Hunter Association, calmly checking my status window. Thanks to the massive EXP from that last conquest, I was already on the verge of hitting level 50. Once I reach level 50, I'll finally be able to join teams and start conquering the ultimate grade dungeons.
I was smugly planning how to use my new power to make a fortune, when a squad of hunters suddenly sprinted past me.
From their frantic shouts, I pieced it together. The Rainbow Bridge dungeon was in crisis, and a red alert had just been declared. And to make matters worse, the truck with the Kishia Dragon Sword was right on that bridge. You have got to be kidding me. The Kishia Dragon Sword is really there. The realization hit me like a ton of bricks. On the roof of the Hunter Association, choppers were already spinning up, ready for deployment. The association's elite hunters had all gathered, preparing for a full-scale support mission. Just then, Hunter Nani stepped forward, her voice cutting through the tension. She declared that rescuing citizens was the absolute priority. Protecting the sword was secondary. But as Nanise prepared to board her aircraft, she noticed a strange disturbance in the distance.
When she looked closer, she realized it was me, desperately trying to tag along. I shouted to Hunter Nani, "Please, let me go with you. I want to save people, and I can help guide them to safety."
Nani was stunned to see me there. She remembered my impossible survival, and how I'd saved her junior hunter. Against her better judgment, she agreed. From the other hunters, I learned the Rainbow Bridge dungeon was acting strangely. They had just suppressed an outbreak there 3 weeks ago, and now another anomaly was rising.
Honestly, in this broken world, nothing is surprising anymore. Even cleared dungeons can collapse all over again. And every single time. We have to be the ones to stop it. We have to prevent the nightmare of 15 years ago from happening again. Back then, disasters struck the entire globe simultaneously.
The world's national level dungeons all broke at once. When monsters aren't culled, the dungeons overflow with their dark energy and simply collapse. In that catastrophic event, endless waves of monsters flooded our cities.
Countless lives were devoured in an instant as our world turned into a living hell. I survived that day. But I lost my parents in the chaos.
And in my darkest moment, an otherworldly being appeared before me. It branded me with the curse of the copy-paste skill. That entity called this curse a gift, but it came with a terrifying 20-year time limit. I still don't know if that's the limit on the skill, or on my life. The deadline is only 5 years away now. If that being's first appearance triggered a global catastrophe, then its return in 5 years will bring another wave of destruction. But now, I've finally found a way to grow stronger. If I can become the most powerful hunter, I can stop the coming disaster. And maybe, just maybe, I can break this curse. Right now, the Rainbow Bridge is pure pandemonium. The air is filled with the roar of explosions. Shinoda Satoru could only watch in despair as a tide of monsters swarmed innocent civilians. There were just too many of them. They desperately needed more hunters. Suddenly, a goblin lunged from his blind spot. Shinotu spun around, his blade a silver arc that cut the creature down. But as it fell, another goblin shot out from the shadows for a sneak attack. At the last second, someone saved him. It was the hunter who used Fireball. "Thank you," Shinoda breathed out. He continued, "You've saved me twice today. If you hadn't tackled me before, I would have been killed for sure." But his savior just shot him a look of disdain, clearly thinking he was just some rookie who got in through his connections. Shinoda silently vowed in his heart, "Senior, I swear, I will repay this debt." The other hunter just grunted. "We need to push through to the head of the bridge. Let's move out and meet up with the main rescue team." Meanwhile, at the center of the bridge, a colossal beast was tearing into the transport truck. It was a terrifying level 190 giant bear. One hunter yelled, "Ares, are you sure this truck will hold?" His partner replied, "Maul, I know you're worried, but trust me."
My protection magic is the strongest there is. Even a level 400 monster couldn't dream of breaking my barrier.
But then, something impossible happened. The entire bridge began to tremble and sway violently. Everyone stared at the scene in utter disbelief. Even the strongest defenses are utterly useless against a power like this. Just then, a glimmer of hope appears in the sky. The Hunter Association's support aircraft has finally... This can't be happening. That's the ultimate boss of the Rainbow Bridge dungeon.
A colossal, dragon-like monster erupts from the sea's dark depths. All units, prepare to attack.
In the next instant, the beast unleashes a torrent of dragonfire straight at the bridge. The attack instantly engulfs everything in a searing inferno. A massive section of the Rainbow Bridge simply vanishes, leaving only the terrifying boss floating on the churning waves. From the aircraft, I watch this nightmare unfold in pure terror. The creature seems to notice us. It opens its monstrous jaw, preparing another devastating attack. Another colossal beam of dragon's breath erupted, and a moment later, our aircraft was torn apart by a massive explosion. We all leaped from the wreckage, narrowly escaping the fiery blast. The dungeon boss's arrival changed everything. The mission was no longer about rescue. Every association hunter was now preparing to take down that apocalyptic boss. They began to rally their forces. Nia took the lead, igniting her blade with malevolent energy. A torrent of hellfire began pouring from her sword.
With a thunderous war cry, she unleashed a volley of hellfire blasts that rocketed straight toward the monstrous boss.
Elsewhere, Sono used his spider silk to ensure a safe landing. His new objective secure the Kitsia dragon sword. But along the way, he discovered piles of monster corpses, but he sees no sign of any other hunters. As this sinks in, a desperate shout echoes, "Run!" Below, Shinoda Satoru is fighting for his life against a horde of monsters. Behind him lies his badly injured senior, Fireball. "You have to go now, or you'll die too," Fireball pleads. But Shinoda Satoru refuses to abandon his teammate. "You idiot! Do you even know why weak monsters appear in high-level dungeons?" Fireball asks. His voice strained. "They swarm, Their combined strength rivals a high-level beast. If you don't run now, it will be too late. But his warning comes too late. They are wolf demons, level 15, individually weak, but they hunt in massive packs. Their combined power is easily comparable to high-level monsters. Behind them, an endless tide of demons is closing in. Still, Shinoda Satoru feels no regret. My senior protected me before, he thinks. This time, it's my turn to protect him. Watching this scene from afar, Sono remembers a time when he saved his own junior. His steps, once ready to depart, halt completely. In a flash, the wolf demons surround them. Shinoda Satoru fights desperately, but their numbers are simply overwhelming. Just as a demon prepares to pounce, Sono appears out of nowhere, tackling the monster aside. Are you okay? He asks calmly. Shinoda is stunned by his sudden appearance, but the terror hasn't faded. Countless more wolf demons are closing in on them. Thanks for the help. Shinoda Satoru pants. We need to get out of here. Even a high-level hunter would struggle against that pack. Yet, Sono just stands there, completely still. A faint smile on his face. Oh, really, he says. Perfect. Shinoda is bewildered by his words. As a fresh wave of demons leaps toward them, Sono calmly pulls up his system panel. He remains utterly calm. In an instant, Sono is completely swallowed by the monstrous wolf pack. Shinoda stares in absolute horror at what he saw. But then, countless threads of spider silk erupt from the chaos, binding every single wolf demon. Sono emerged from the demonic swarm without a scratch. The result was breathtaking. The spider silk contracted relentlessly, binding the demons tighter and tighter. A spectacular, grotesque sculpture unfolded before their very eyes. Shinoda watched it all in a state of shock, his ears ringing with the system's level-up notification. What kind of skill was that he took down so many in one go? But now Sono faced a dilemma. If he left the two of them here, they'd surely be attacked again. But Sono had urgent business to attend to. He couldn't afford to drag two injured people along. What was he supposed to do? He could only think of one thing. Sono then pulled out a bottle containing a glowing red liquid. Fireball took the vial, his face etched with confusion. This is a mid-level potion, Sono explained. Take it. It will heal your injuries. Fireball was shocked to hear this. Why are you giving me something so precious? He asked in disbelief. Because it's a senior's responsibility to bring their juniors back home safely. Shinoda Satoru was deeply moved. Thank you so much, he exclaimed. I will definitely repay your kindness. As Sono was about to leave, he suddenly turned back to Shinoda, a silly grin on his face. If you want to repay me, Sono said, could you tell me which way the International Hunter Association's transport vehicle is? I have a terrible sense of direction. Shinoda Satoru was completely stunned. He never expected his legendary savior to be so hopelessly challenged by directions. Meanwhile, on the other side of the Rainbow Bridge, a mysterious group was rushing toward the center. The boss's appearance was entirely unexpected. One wrong move, and they'd lose everything. They knew the association would prioritize taking down the boss. That's because subjugating the boss was the fastest route to stabilizing the chaotic dungeon. They planned to use this opportunity to steal the Kisia dragon sword. Back at the center of the bridge, the giant monster bear was still on a frantic rampage. Then, Ares cast another sleep spell. The giant bear immediately collapsed to the ground, falling into a deep slumber. He put him to sleep again, someone wondered. He's a hunter, but clearly a pacifist. Just then, a round iron ball flew straight toward them. Fortunately, Maul noticed it in time, cleaving the projectile in half with a single strike. I knew you'd come, Maul said, his voice low. This had happened several times during the chaos. The exhibition was under guard when shadowy figures materialized from the darkness. One, his senses razor-sharp, stepped forward to challenge them, a glint in his eye. He sneered. Let's see what you've got. With a burst of speed, he lunged. Maul reacted instantly, his sword flashing up to intercept. Don't you dare look down on the guard's duty, Maul roared. He unleashed a powerful swing, but his foe sidestepped with contemptuous ease. Enraged, Maul charged after him. Wait, it's a trap, Ares shouted, but his warning was lost to the wind. Suddenly, Maul's body seized up. Blood erupted from him as he collapsed. What? Is this poison? He choked out, as Ares rushed to his side. They used poison pills, Ares explained grimly. This toxin completely seals your ability to absorb magical energy. Poison pills, an item strictly forbidden by the International Hunter Association. Even the ever-composed Ares could feel pure rage boiling within him. You will regret this, he snarled. Magic flared to life in his hand, but it fizzled out, causing no damage at all. The man in black sneered in contempt. A mage who can't wield magic is better off dead. As he spoke, a massive fireball ignited in his palm, but just as he was about to unleash it, the assassin's head was torn clean off his shoulders. The attacker, was the giant bear. It turned out the mage's earlier spell had awakened this terrifying beast. The men in black looked like ants before its towering form. With a world-shaking roar, the giant bear wiped out every last one of them. Seeing this absolute massacre, their leader instantly fled. A fatal miscalculation, he cursed. A tactical retreat was his only option. Having dealt with the assassins, the great bear slowly turned its attention to Ares and Maul. "Can you put it back to sleep?" Ares asked urgently. "No," Maul replied. "The poison is suppressing my magic now, too." "I knew your pacifism would be our undoing someday," Ares lamented. "I just never thought it would be today." "Yes," Maul agreed. "But you are different." With that, he charged forward. A magic circle bloomed in his hand. Witnessing this reckless act, Ares shouted in desperation, "Come back! You'll be killed!" He then coughed up a mouthful of blood, forcibly channeling his magic past the toxins. The pain was unbearable. Is it still not enough? By the time he reached the giant bear's feet, his magic was completely gone. All that awaited him were the monster's razor-sharp claws. "Maul, I'm sorry," he whispered. Just as the bear's claws swung down, countless spider silks erupted in front of Ares. They instantly snared the attacking claws, then wrapped around the monster's entire colossal body. The giant bear thrashed relentlessly, but it was futile. It was quickly bound like a giant cocoon, and then fell silent. Ares stared at the unbelievable scene. This was undoubtedly Sono's masterpiece. Sono's party of 3 had just arrived, never expecting their plan to work so flawlessly. Ares and Maul, however, were immediately on guard. They assumed these were just more bandits, here to steal the sword. No matter how Sono tried to explain, their distrust remained firm. It wasn't until Shinoda Satoru presented his official identification that they finally began to listen. "We are hunters from the Island Nation's Hunter Association," he explained. "We are in charge of managing this dungeon's entrance and exit." Seeing their tense shoulders relax, Sono offered them a gesture of goodwill. "In any case, you should heal your injuries first," he said, taking out 2 mid-level healing potions. Only then did Ares and Maul finally lower their guard completely. Just then, the roar of several aircraft filled the sky. "Excellent!" someone shouted. "The new support teams have arrived. We're finally saved." Meanwhile, Hunter Nennis was still locked in a desperate battle with the dungeon boss. At that moment, the beast entered its 3rd phase. Hunter Nennis immediately halted his assault. "Watch out for the wide area shockwave," he bellowed. "Our reinforcements are here. We just need to buy time for the citizen evacuation." But could the dungeon's collapse truly be stopped? "Hunter Nennis, it's been a long time." The newcomer was Shiroaki Masato, a level 503 dark mage. Nennis glanced back in shock. "How did you get here?" he asked. But Shiroaki didn't bother to explain. He simply raised his magic staff. "Magic, activate!" A massive magic circle materialized before the boss. Seeing this, Nennis immediately told him to stop. "If that spell doesn't finish him, the consequences will be unthinkable," Nennis warned. However, Shiroaki had no intention of stopping. "If you worry about such trivial things, nothing will ever be accomplished," Shiroaki retorted. "Leave this one to me!" He then roared, "Dark lightning!" Instantly, the boss was engulfed by terrifying black lightning, screaming in agony. Witnessing this sheer power, Nennis screamed, "Everyone, run for your lives!" The boss's massive body began to fall. The impact caused the rainbow bridge to sway violently from side to side. After the chaos subsided, the bridge was utterly devastated. Sono was just grateful to have survived. "I thought I was going to die again," he thought, looking down at the wreckage below. Thankfully, everyone is all right, and the transport vehicle is safe. However, Sono was startled when he glanced to the other side. A row of sharp, giant teeth suddenly appeared from the chasm. Sono was instantly too terrified to make a sound, worried that any movement might wake this new monster. Just then, Shiraki descended from above. Sono was surprised to see the emblem on his chest. It was the mark of the Future Guild, ranked 3rd in the entire island nation. Shiroaki noticed the giant bear, still bound nearby. He nonchalantly touched the spider silk restraining it. The entire web immediately began to crack. The giant bear itself was torn into countless pieces. Sono was shocked beyond belief by this display. Then, his attention was pulled by the sound of a system notification. Massive level-up prompts appeared before Sono, but there were no item rewards for the kill. Shiroaki, standing nearby, also heard the level-up notification. "Those webs, they were your doing, kid," he reveals. "I mistakenly claimed the giant bear's reward. Then take it back. I refuse to be a thief." Just then, an ace hunter appears on the scene. Her eyes widen in shock at the sight of Sano. "We have to go, now," she urgently declares. "If that thing wakes up, it will go berserk, unleashing devastating wide-range attacks." Sano looks on, confused. Why not finish it while it's down? That's impossible, she counters. High-level bosses have multiple phases. We have to clear them one by one. Based on its abilities, she explains. Once its health drops to 1/3, it unleashes its ultimate skill. It could be a berserker rage or an area attack. Either way, it covers everything. And we're just about to enter phase 3.
The boss will erect a protective barrier. It will drain the surrounding magic, rendering all our attacks completely useless.
And just at that moment, the beast's eyes snap open. A furious roar rips through the air. It woke up far sooner than expected. Shiraki glances back at Sano. Farewell, he states coldly. Don't blame me if you don't make it. With that, he and Nanise charge toward the monstrous boss. The fierce battle reignites in an instant. Sano springs into action, moving to save the others. Listen up! The situation is critical, he yells.
The boss has entered its 3rd phase. It's about to unleash a massive area attack. But there's no time to escape its range, he warns. His words send a wave of shock through the crowd. Which means I need the Khaleesi Dragon Sword right now to defeat it. I swear I'll return it. Sano pleads. But Morgan isn't buying any of it. You're a low-level hunter who got lucky twice. Even with that sword, you can't defeat this boss. Besides, in its current state, that blade can't be used many times. So, it's still no use, Sano murmurs. But just then, Ares speaks up. We need a massive amount of magic to break the seal on the transport, he explains. But we can't absorb any mana right now.
Because of the bandit's poison. This is perfect, Sano declares. In this dungeon, they call me a walking mana potion, because I have an infinite magic generation skill. The moment he activates his ability, Ares is flooded with immense power. The seal on the transport shatters instantly. Seeing his chance, Sano leaps inside. I will keep my promise, I will protect you all. But Ares questions his motive. Why are you going this far? It's fine, someone replies. He only subdued the bear. He didn't kill it. Is that all it takes to impress you? Another scoffs. Women truly are impossible to understand. Leaping onto the transport, Sano's heart pounds with excitement. The legendary Kia Dragon Sword is finally within his grasp. But in that same instant, the bandit from before appears from the shadows, his blade raised high, ready to strike. Before Sano can even register the danger, it's too late. The blade plunges deep into his chest. He collapses inside the transport. The legendary sword was finally his. As the bandit greedily opens the chest, a jet-black longsword rests inside. A system message flashes. Upon user death, the giant foot spider silk will randomly dissolve. Just as the system warned, the webs snap. The entire transport vehicle plunges into the water, sinking deeper and deeper into the abyss. A new message appears. Confirm acquisition of the item. As the assassin's hand reaches for the Khaleesi Dragon Sword, Sano revives and rises behind him. With a single thrust, his own sword pierces the assassin's back. I'm the type to repay kindness with kindness, Sano states coldly. And betrayal with vengeance. At last, the Khaleesi Dragon Sword is in his hands. He immediately activates his skill control C to copy it. But a system warning flashes before his eyes. User level does not meet target requirements. Copying failed. He stares at the system window in disbelief. How is this possible logically? This sword requires level 30, and I'm over level 50. I should more than meet the requirements. But fate had another cruel twist in store. The assassin wasn't dead. With a vicious strike, his blade tears into Sano, sending blood flying. I almost brought shame to the assassins of the Blood Tower Guild. If not for my healing skills, I'd already be dead. Now, the sword is mine again. A wicked grin spreads across his face. Unfortunately for you, I'm the type who forgets kindness. The battle for the blade was far from over. This time, the assassin snarls. There are no second chances. He lunges, his sword aimed at Sano's heart. Damn it, Sano thinks. After coming all this way... But suddenly, the Khaleesi Dragon Sword begins to fuse with its wielder. A new skill copy begins value absorption. Absorption. What is that? Sano wonders to himself. But the system notification wasn't finished. It continued to scroll. System commencing copy of the Khaleesi Dragon Sword's level. Absorption complete. System copying passive skill. Defense increase 35%. Absorption complete. System. Copying unique skill 1 vampirism. Absorption complete. Copying the Khaleesi Dragon Sword's second unique skill. Berserking. Absorption complete. All abilities of the Khaleesi Dragon Sword have been fully integrated. A new system window materialized. When the user's health falls below 25%, the Khaleesi Dragon Sword's protection protocol will activate. Unique skill 2, Berserking, will be forcibly triggered. At that very instant, the Rainbow Bridge boss began to channel its ultimate attack. A devastating area of effect attack erupted. All hope seemed lost. But then,
An immense pillar of energy erupted from the ocean floor. The beam of light shot upwards, piercing straight through the colossal boss's core. Shirawaki and the Inasa hunter could only stare in utter disbelief. A familiar blue screen appeared before them. Boss defeated, dungeon cleared.
Later, the Island Nations Hunter Association issued a statement. This afternoon, at 4 p.m., the Rainbow Bridge dungeon break resulted in catastrophic losses. However, thanks to a hunter's swift intervention, the dungeon was quickly pacified. The president slammed the off button. "Wipe those looks off your faces," he commanded. Tiki questioned nervously. "But didn't we successfully clear the boss this time?" Before an answer came, Shinoda cut in. "I heard the Rainbow Bridge was cleared just 3 months ago," he said, skeptical. "Even if it was, a recurrence isn't unheard of." A voice boomed across the room. "Enough! All of you, be silent. How exactly are you managing things? Dungeons are breaking out one after another." Meanwhile, Nain, a hunter seated off to the side, had no interest in their arguments, but trouble had a way of finding her. A sharp voice cut through the noise, demanding, "Here's what I want to know. An ultimate boss needs over 5 months to regenerate, right? Did Nain lie? Was the raid, 3 months ago, a complete failure?" Nine, who wanted no part of their squabbling, grew furious as they started pointing fingers at her. With a deafening crack, she slammed her palm down, shattering the conference table. Just as chaos was about to erupt, the Hunter Association president stepped forward. He moved to mediate. "My subordinate was out of line," he stated. "Please accept my apology on his behalf." He then warned, "An attitude like that can get you killed." But seeing the others wouldn't back down, Nain finally spoke. "There's an old saying," she began, her voice cold as ice. "Hearing is one thing, but seeing is the only truth. You won't believe me no matter what I say. That massive energy spike you all detected was the reward for defeating the Rainbow Bridge boss 3 months prior. If you still have doubts, you can ask the person next to me," Nain continued, her gaze unwavering. "Furthermore, I will personally lead the investigation into this outbreak, and will hold the negligent guild responsible this time." At that moment, Moore and Ares walked in. "We are from the International Hunter Association," Moore announced. "We're here with an important announcement. The Calicia Dragon Sword has been stolen. We require your immediate assistance in its recovery." A voice from the room questioned. "Wait, I heard you unlocked the transport vehicle seal yourselves when you were attacked," Moore replied grimly. "That was only because we were responding to your official request for hunter assistance." Shinoda Satoru from a major guild and Sono from the Hunter Association were both present at the time. A wave of shock rippled through the room. President Fua frantically searched on his device, but found no information about Sono. Only Nain knew Sono's true identity. But did he really steal the sword? Of course not. The Calicia Dragon Sword was already in the hands of an assassin. He had delivered it to the true mastermind, Kurosaki.
Merely holding the blade boosts a user's level by 200%. The long sword identifies users through runes on its handle. To Kurosaki.
Spending hundreds of millions to orchestrate the dungeon break was a small price to pay. But as the assassin reached for his payment, Kurosaki struck him down. After all, dead men tell no tales. The Calicia Dragon Sword's durability decreased by 2 points, leaving only 8 points from— Could this be the real reason Hunter Nishimoto sealed this place? The chilling thought settled over them. This means Shinoda and Shiraki were likely transported to another realm. If we want to find them, our only path is to conquer this maze and claim the giant's heart. Their resolve hardened. Then let's get started. The real battle begins now. Meanwhile, outside the maze, the city had descended into chaos. The gate glowed blood red as hordes of gargoyles poured out, laying waste to everything. Civilians fled in terror while the hunters struggled to hold the line. But as long as the gargoyles' cores remained, they could regenerate endlessly. Making matters worse, the clashing magical densities between worlds weakened the mages, robbing them of their large-scale spells. Damn that left eye. He's never here when it counts. If we had his infinite mana generation skill, this fight would be a joke. Just as a bald warrior was about to be overwhelmed, a flash of light cut through the chaos. A blonde swordsman had cleaved the gargoyle in two. He'd overheard their desperate talk. "This infinite mana generation you mentioned. Tell me everything. Indebted for the save." The warrior told the mysterious man all that he knew. "I've never heard of such an ability. Could it really be him?" Suddenly, 2 immense auras flared to life. On the rooftop of the Hunters Association, it was the guildmasters of the nation's 2 strongest guilds. A massive gargoyle charged straight for them. "Looks like it's our turn. If we don't step in, the casualties will only climb." Takeuchi-go leaped from the roof, activating his stone armor skill. In an instant, his body was encased in solid rock, crashing down like a meteor. A stone titan emerged from the smoke. The gargoyle lunged, but with a single, casual punch, Takeuchi-go shattered it into dust. He then charged forward like an unstoppable force. From above, Shiro unleashed a magical bombardment.
A brilliant storm of energy blasted the ground, clearing a path for Takeuchi-Go to reach the boss.
The boss swung its enormous fist, but Takeuchi-Go didn't even try to dodge. Instead, he met the blow with his own. One punch, then two. Cracks began to spiderweb across the boss's stone body. The next second, it exploded into fragments, revealing a crimson core. "I won't let that old man claim all the glory," he declared.
With a final blast, he pulverized the core. The maze riot had been successfully stopped. But while they were celebrating,
the mysterious blonde swordsman had already gathered his own intel, his target, Hunter F.
Target Tuchgo operates without any control keys. Truly worthy of his title as the island nation's #1 guildmaster, he tamed the chaotic maze riot in mere moments.
And even without them, valuable intel was still being gathered. I believe Control Plus is still trapped in that maze. I just hope he hasn't been killed in the chaos. Meanwhile, deep within the hidden maze, members of the Blood Tower Guild ventured forth, their sights set on one prize, the giant's heart. But from the shadows, an endless horde of zombies appeared. A fatal mistake, for they were nothing but cannon fodder against a legendary blade.
With a single, blinding flash of his sword, Kurosaki obliterated them all. Now that the path was clear,
they pressed on towards the boss room, the giant puppet's heart. Suddenly, a blinding white light erupted from beneath their feet. In the blink of an eye, they were teleported before a colossal stone door. Without hesitation, Kurosaki produced the key he'd claimed and thrust it into the lock. The massive door groaned open, revealing a vast chamber. Lining the walls were rows of imposing giant statues, but there was no sign of the boss anywhere. A deep, unsettling pressure filled the air, a presence only Eridasara could feel, choking the very breath from her lungs. Is it because I'm not a hunter? She wondered. As that thought crossed her mind, a giant stone palm crashed down with a sickening thud.
Their unfortunate guildmate was obliterated, instantly turned into a pulp of flesh and bone.
One of the statues had awakened, its cold eyes fixed upon them. Damn it, the statue's alive! Everyone, be on guard! But the warning came far too late. In an instant, every statue in the room stirred to life, completely surrounding the members of the Blood Tower Guild. Eridasara was frozen in sheer terror at the sudden ambush. Her inaction sent Kurosaki into a rage. "What are you just standing there for? Use your restoration skill. Save our fallen comrade. Now." The words snapped Eridasara back to reality. She was the team's healer. It was her duty. She scrambled to the fallen hunter's side, pulling out the mana devices she had collected from her pack. But something was terribly wrong. To her horror, she realized their stored magic power was leaking out. How is this possible? Not even an archmage should be able to break these seals. And stranger still, all the leaking mana was flowing in the same direction. The Blood Tower Guild was already clashing with the Stone Guardians, but they were hopelessly outmatched. Kurosaki desperately ordered his team to lay down mines, but his commands were met with panic. Their stealth skills and even the landmines, they weren't activating. A stone fist delivered a devastating blow. Kurosaki could only watch in horror as another one of his teammates was brutally killed. In a matter of moments, the entire Blood Tower squad was wiped out. "You've got to be kidding me. How could this happen?" "You damn stone piles," Kurosaki roared, raising his sword to unleash a powerful skill. But then, a system window appeared. User lacks the mana to activate the skill Kishia Dragon Sword. The message left him completely stunned. As he stood there in disbelief, the statue's deadly attack was already upon him. Meanwhile, Eridasara had followed the flow of leaking mana to a strange platform. All of the magical energy was being siphoned into a single cube at its center. What in the world is this thing? The moment her fingers brushed against it, the cube transformed, revealing a massive, pulsating ruby heart. Could this be the giant's heart? But why was it absorbing mana instead of releasing it before she could process it? The giant's heart began to glow ominously. A primal sense of danger screamed at her to run, but it was too late. A crimson beam of energy shot from the heart, piercing clean through her waist. She collapsed to the ground, writhing in agony. A stone guardian loomed over her, raising its massive blade for the final, fatal strike. But in that critical moment, Kurosaki appeared in a flash of shadow, blocking the devastating attack meant for Eridasara. He instantly produced a high-grade healing potion and poured it over her wound. Scooping her into his arms, his only thought was to escape. But a system notification echoed through the chamber. The giant's heart has been activated. Now preparing for the boss battle. The massive stone door began to grind shut. Kurosaki tried to activate his shadow movement again, but another system window popped up. User lacks sufficient magic power to activate the shadow movement skill. What kind of a sick joke was this? Where had all his mana gone if they couldn't escape now? They were dead. Trapped here for good. Damn it, with no other choice. Kurosaki hurled Eridasara towards the closing exit with every last ounce of his strength. She skidded across the cold stone floor. Why would you save me? As long as you're alive, you can restore everything. Right. You idiot, I'm not even a hunter. Where would I get that kind of mana? As her vision cleared, a familiar face appeared before her. It was that guy, Sono, the one who could somehow share his magic power with others. And just as she thought, Sono did exactly that, pouring a steady stream of mana directly into her. With enough magic power, he said calmly, you can heal that injury yourself, can't you? Eridasara could only stare at him, completely stunned. How did he know about her unique skill? A few minutes later, a fully healed Eridasara sat nearby, her hands bound like a prisoner. The healer of the Blood Tower Guild, she had sustained a fatal wound, yet had recovered completely in mere moments.
We need to investigate her background thoroughly when we return. But what do we do now? We fought so hard to get here, only to be locked out. There's no way to open it from the outside. We'd need the key. Does that mean we're trapped in this place forever?
Could this be the reason so many other hunters went missing here nearby? Sono was wrestling with a dilemma. What should I do? I actually copied that key. But how could he possibly explain that he decided he would just have to bluff his way through? Sono reached into his inventory to pull out the key. But just as he did, Ari stepped forward towards the door. She gently placed her hand on its surface, and to everyone's utter astonishment, her arm passed right through the solid stone. Runes on the door and Eris's robe flared with the exact same light. In the next instant, the ancient door swung open. The robe! It belonged to Eris's mother. It was resonating with the door, granting them passage. But from the shadows, Sono had heard everything. He knew it then. Ari was the living key to this labyrinth. If the chance ever came, he swore he would explore this multi-dimensional maze with her. Just as Eridasara's intel predicted, a chilling sensation washed over them. Their magic power was draining away at an alarming rate. The giant heart was feasting on their energy. Just then, the stone guardians from before materialized once again. Sono didn't hesitate, his mind racing. Control E. He commanded the system. Copy magic power control. 5 to paste. He spammed the command, unleashing an infinite paste. Suddenly, the air itself was filled with countless skill windows. A terrifying torrent of mana erupted from Sono's body, flooding the entire chamber in seconds. Even the colossal heart's absorption couldn't keep up with his infinite generation. Eridasara could only stare, her mind reeling in disbelief. If she could combine her skill with his overwhelming power, she might just be able to save her parents. His mana fully restored. Nanise became a blur of motion, charging straight for a statue. With one clean strike, he cleaved the stone guardian in two. Not to be outdone, Shirazaki raised his staff high. Dark magic crackled around him. A bolt of black lightning instantly annihilated the nearest statue. But more guardians closed in, surrounding them. A twisted grin spread across Shirazaki's face. Finally, he sneered, something to vent all this frustration on. He unleashed a devastating wave of dark magic, instantly obliterating the statues. In that moment, Eridasara's eyes found Kurosaki. He was slumped against the ground, his body a canvas of wounds, barely clinging to life.
Eridasara moved to help, but Sono was faster. I never expected to find you here, Sono said, his voice cold.
He then reached down, picking up the Ka dragon sword. Finally got you back, he thought. And its durability. It's been completely restored. A thought sparked in his mind. How can I copy his skills? Sono decided to test it, targeting Kurosaki's shadow movement. A system window popped into view. Copy failed. Target's level is higher than yours. Just as hope faded, another message appeared.
Target harbors extreme hostility towards you. Under these conditions, you have 2 methods to acquire the skill. 1, slay the target and claim their skill. 2, forcibly absorb the target's skill.
This is only possible when the target's HP is below 15%. After absorption, the target will permanently lose this skill. So, you can even steal skills this way? Sono realized. In his current state, I can force the absorption. Just then, Kurosaki approached them. You're a healer, correct? He demanded. Heal this man. There are things we need to ask him. With that, Kurosaki released Eridasara's bonds. As the healing light enveloped him, Kurosaki's severed arm began to regenerate. The very next second, his eyes snapped open. It seems my gamble paid off, Kurosaki muttered. In an instant, his hands were bound once more. You'd best behave, a warning voice cut through the air. Or I won't be so courteous. Understood. But first, we need to survive this place. The real maze has only just begun. Without warning, the giant heart pulsed, unleashing a blinding beam of light. Kurosaki dove out of the way, escaping into the chaos. The beam tore through the air toward Nanise, obliterating the ground where she stood. Seeing her in danger, Shinoda Satoru charged forward, but the heart fired again, its next beam aimed directly at him. At that critical moment, Little Stone shot forward like a cannonball. The next second, a thunderous explosion ripped through the chamber. When the smoke finally cleared, a new figure stood in its place. Shinoda Satoru was now encased in a suit of stone armor. Little Stone's transformed form. Behind him, a shaken Nanise was safe. Someone gasped. The two of you merged. To think you leveled up in such a short time, no matter how I look at it, it's just like Master Takuchi's legendary stone armor. Let's rewind a half hour. Kurosaki and Shinoda Satoru had been thrown into this chaotic maze.
Kurosaki's overwhelming dark magic had made short work of the monsters lurking there.
They even dropped a hoard of rubies, which Little Stone eyed hungrily. With Kurosaki's nod of approval, the small gargoyle began to feast, and just like that, Little Stone leveled up. A status window appeared. Snow Mountain Gargoyle, level 2, can grow up to level 10. Current skills, Freeform Change, level 2, and Master's Shared Senses, level 2.
Little Stone, you're incredible. You actually leveled up, back in the present.
The giant heart's onslaught was growing more ferocious. The attacks were so powerful that even Kurosaki's formidable protective barrier finally shattered. These were beams of pure, concentrated magical devastation. Ordinary defensive spells stood no chance against them. But just then, a furious Nenny stepped into the fray. With no fear in his eyes, he swung his blade to cleave the beam of light in two. The beam's density was so immense, it could actually be split by a sword. But even with that power, getting any closer was impossible. My infinite magic is a double-edged sword. The heart just absorbs it and fires back. But if I stop, our own magic will be drained completely. It's a dead end. There's only one path left. It's time to test my newly acquired skill, Shadow Movement. Using its ability to travel through shadows, I'll combine it with Control +5. Activating Giant King Spider Silk. Sano shrouded himself in spider silk and vanished on the spot, leaving only shimmering threads behind. Maul, standing beside him, was completely baffled. Where did he go? A human-shaped shadow materialized behind the colossal heart. Sano emerged from it, immediately placing a hand on its surface. His plan: shatter it with inherent vibration. However, he gravely underestimated its intelligence. The heart unleashed a magical explosion, blasting Sano backwards until he coughed up blood. Who do you think you are? That's my magic you're using. Remember this. Control +5, activate Giant King, Spider Silk. Instantly, a torrent of spider silk erupted, wrapping the giant heart until it was encased in a massive cocoon. Just when they thought victory was theirs, deadly beams pierced through the silk once more. It's not over yet. Control +5, Giant King. Spider Silk, super double beams of light seared the air right past Sano. This time, I have to touch it. The moment he made contact, he sealed it again. Control +5, using the skill Inherent Vibration. I'll use Resonance to destroy the target. As the giant heart shattered, a brilliant light filled the chamber.
A system message appeared. You have destroyed the giant's heart. Maze conquest. Successful.
The next second, countless level-up notifications flooded his vision. Sano stared at them in pure joy.
Congratulations. You have obtained the conquest reward. Giant's Heart. Level 1, upgradable. Skill 1 can generate magic power infinitely.
Skill 2 can absorb or store a certain amount of magic power. This is a continuously upgradable skill. Reading the description, Sano felt it was completely useless to him. But then, another notification popped up. Control C has been upgraded. It can now automatically copy applicable targets. Autocopy enabled. This is insane, Sano-senpai. You're absolutely incredible. Get away from me. I'm not into men. At that moment, Shirawaki walked over. Seriously though, congratulations on obtaining the giant's heart. He added, after we return, I'd like to have a word. With you? If you're interested in the giant's heart, I can sell it to you at a high price. Shirawaki's eyes lit up at the offer. After resting and reorganizing, Sano returned the Kalesia Dragon Sword to Ares. Suddenly, Maul stepped forward. Was that the Blood Tower Guild's advanced skill you just used? He demanded. You just covered an impossible distance. Sano broke into a cold sweat, quickly fabricating an excuse. I used my spider silk to pull myself over. Maul was about to press further, but En cut him off. Prying into someone's skills is extremely rude, she stated. Let's go. We still need to hurry back and investigate those two.
As they left, Kurosaki whispered to Eridasura. It's time for you to repay the life you owe me, he hissed.
Go restart the maze. Are you sure? Eridasura asked nervously. This is the last time. Is it because of that kid's magic power? Kurosaki retorted. Just don't forget our contract, or you'll give me a headache. The contract, Adam's oath. It's a permanent bond, meaning you can never betray your partner. As long as this exists, you can never leave my side. Remember, your parents are in my hands. I risked my life to save you. Now, it's your turn to repay me. This place should have enough magic power. Start now. In the next instant, immense magic began gathering around her. She activated her control skill. Seeing this, Sano turned instantly, shouting for everyone to get out. The maze is about to be reset, he yelled, then activated shadow movement. He instantly appeared beside Eridisera, desperate to stop her. Why are you doing this? He pleaded. I'm sorry, she replied.
As the magic surged, the entire maze began to twist and contort in an earth-shattering upheaval. Shiroaki and Ares threw up protective barriers, shielding everyone as they sprinted toward the exit.
They escaped just in the nick of time as the maze sealed shut, emerging into the city above ground. Just then, the maze exit vanished completely. Shinoda Satoru cried out in panic. They're still inside. Meanwhile, within the crumbling maze, the reset hadn't gone as planned. Kurosaki had already broken free from his restraints.
Holding his sword, he slowly approached, asking, "What's going on? The maze didn't completely reset."
He dragged me out mid-activation, Eridisera explained. So the reset, Kurosaki mused, was only partially completed. I see, Kurosaki continued. But it doesn't matter. Everyone else has been wiped out anyway. All that matters is securing the giant's heart. Sono glared at his enemy, his eyes burning with fury. He was about to unleash his giant king spider skill. But in the next instant, a system window materialized before his eyes, leaving him frozen in disbelief. Cannot find object. What could that possibly mean, Sono wondered. It's useless, Kurosaki explained with a smirk. The reset didn't just affect the maze. It affected you. Hearing those words, Sono frantically pulled up his status window. And there it was. Sono, level 1, skill proficiency, 1%. Both his Control C and Control 5 skills had been completely wiped clean, returned to their initial state. But wait, what was this? Sano noticed another line on his panel. Unconfirmed object has been copied. Can be pasted. In the next instant, a flash of silver steel cut through the air. Blood sprayed from the new wound. Kurosaki's blade had brutally gashed Sono, leaving a severe wound. Goodbye, you little brat, Kurosaki sneered, raising his sword for the final blow. But just in time, another blade intercepted the attack. It was Maul, the other survivor. But even Maul was no match for Kurosaki's power. A cruel smile spread across Kurosaki's face. After a brief clash of steel, Maul was swiftly overpowered.
A vicious kick from Kurosaki sent him flying. Kurosaki lunged forward, his blade poised to deliver the final strike, but then
Sono threw himself in front of Maul, taking the full force of the blow and collapsing to the ground. Maul stared, utterly stunned. Why did you do that? He was my kill. I don't need your help, so get lost, he yelled. But before the words could even leave his mouth, Kurosaki's blade sliced him in half from behind. The onlookers could only stare in horror. Sono was dead. I knew it, Kurosaki sneered. Only he was reset. But the items he was carrying remain. Now I'm the only one you can depend on. So don't give me that look, Kurosaki added. This is all your fault for resetting him. I'm sure he'll thank you for it in his next life. But in the next second, a flash of light, and Kurosaki's wrist was severed. He let out a piercing scream of agony. And there, standing before him completely unharmed, was Sono. I'm back, Sono declared. It seems the copy of myself was never reset. He explained that the moment he died, a skill automatically triggered. Control 5. The skill paced. Myself? Everyone stared in stunned silence. What is this? Kurosaki screamed. I cut him down with my own 2 hands.
What kind of twisted skill is that? You bastard, just what? Are you?
Suddenly, the copied giant king spider silk erupted, instantly cocooning Kurosaki. He tried to use shadow movement to escape, but a system message popped up. This skill has been removed and cannot be used. Kurosaki's eyes widened in sheer terror at the words. Too many impossible things were happening all at once. Sarah, do it again, he demanded. Restart everything. But Eridisera refused to be his puppet any longer. Have you forgotten our contract? Kurosaki snarled. Move it, if you want to live. At that moment, the contract bracelet on Eridisera's wrist sparked with electricity, a cruel reminder of her enslavement. Sono's eyes caught the sudden change. So that's the reason you're bound to him. A contract bracelet? He mused, in a single fluid motion. Sono appeared right beside Eridisera. He grabbed her wrist and activated Control 6 inherent vibration. In the next second, the contract bracelet crumbled into dust. With it, the shackles around Eridisera's heart seemed to shatter as well. From this moment forward, she was finally free from Kurosaki's grasp. You have no one left to command, Sono declared. Now, you can despair in hell. In the very next instant, Sono used shadow movement, appearing directly in front of Kurosaki. Today, he vowed, I will end you with your own skill. Kurosaki immediately logged out in terror. Sono bent down and picked up the giant's heart. How many lives were sacrificed? For this, he wondered aloud. Scum like you has no right to possess it. With that, he activated a skill, crushing the heart into a fine powder. A new system message appeared before him. You have destroyed a high-level reward item. Congratulations. You have obtained a unique treasure.
Within the hallowed halls of Japan's Hunter Association, a tense atmosphere filled the room as a critical meeting was underway.
The Gargoyle Snow Mountain incident was far worse than anyone imagined. It was a multi-dimensional maze. A chilling omen, as the great disaster 15 years ago began with the exact same phenomenon.
They were preceded by the explosion of identical multidimensional gateways.
They never thought such a catastrophe could happen again, especially with the ancient seal on the Western Hunter finally breaking. This wasn't just a problem. It was a prelude to war, and yet, the 7 elite hunters gathered in the room showed nothing but cold indifference to the discussion. Their minds were elsewhere, focused on a singular, burning mission, hunting down the remaining members of the Blood Tower Guild. To them, multidimensional mazes were an impossible challenge. This condescending attitude ignited a cold fury in Tushitsuna. He let out a derisive scoff. How impressive. Did you think we were simply sitting idle? With that? He rose to his feet and strode directly toward Sono. I heard you conquered the maze. With that kind of power? Why have I never heard your name before? He demanded, his voice laced with suspicion. Who are you, really? Sono replied with unshakable calm. I'm just a hunter. What is it you're planning? He continued. We not only cleared the maze, but we also found an incredibly dangerous multidimensional one. While it might not be a world-shaking feat, it certainly doesn't deserve this kind of contempt. Wouldn't you agree? Master Tushitsuna. Tuchitsuna's eyes narrowed into slits. You're an interesting one. To know who I am and still use that tone. In a flash, he unleashed his stone armor skill, his aura flaring. The civilians nearby screamed in terror at the sudden explosion of power. Thankfully, the Hunter Association's president was present, quickly stepping in to quell the chaos. Tushitsuna reluctantly powered down, storming out of the meeting room. The scene shifts to the quiet sanctuary of the president's office. The president revealed, I was once a member of the Great Sage Guild, but I left for my own reasons. He then added, on behalf of all hunters, thank you for your contribution. Recognition from President Tamwa brought a genuine smile to Sano's face. Besides Sono, Ari announced his duty to report back to the International Hunter Association. Maul, however, made a startling declaration. I'll be staying here for a while. I plan to quit the International Hunter Association. That evening, Sano's home became an unexpected gathering point. What is everyone doing in my house this late? He asked. Maul was the first to answer. I'm no longer part of the International Hunter Association. I have nowhere else to go, so I'll be imposing on you for a bit. Sono pressed her. Maul, why would you do this? I'm sorry. But I can't tell you, she replied, her eyes unreadable. Another voice chimed in playfully. I just came to hang out with Sono-senpai. Then a third, more serious voice added. I am only here to deliver Arita Sera's request. Do not group me with them. They explained Kurosaki's fate still comatose, denied healing by Arita Sera, and destined for a prison cell once she awakens. As for Arita Sera, she was confined within the association's interrogation room. She had remained utterly silent, making only a single request, to meet with Sono. It was also revealed that she was a member of an idol group. I think she was forced into all this, someone murmured. I broke her contract bracelet, severing her connection to Kurosaki. Sano stated, I'll go to the association later and see her. He then turned to his other guest. By the way, Master Shirawaki, what brings you to my room? Shirawaki answered, I am here for one reason and one reason only. But before he could finish, Maul cut him off sharply. If you're after the giant's heart, forget it, she declared fiercely. Hunter Sono already destroyed it inside the maze. A wave of absolute shock washed over the room. Are you insane? Someone yelled out. Why in the world? Would you destroy an item of that caliber? But in the next moment, the legendary giant's heart materialized in Sono's hand. Sono explained calmly. What I destroyed in the maze was merely a fake. He thought to himself, a perfect copy, but a copy nonetheless. Maul could only stare, her mind reeling in disbelief at the pulsating heart. That's impossible, she insisted. I can confirm it. The heart that was destroyed back then was the real one. Immediately, both Shirazaki and Nanise began a frantic bidding war, shouting astronomical prices for the legendary artifact. In the end, Shirawaki's staggering offer of $20 billion secured the prize. Later that night, Sono was giddy, dreaming of the immense wealth coming his way. If I just copy a few more giant's hearts and sell them on the black market, I'd be rich overnight. The thought sent a thrill of excitement through him. This dungeon raid was the gift that kept on giving. His level had skyrocketed past 300, and he had even obtained a unique reward. The item was sealed, but the seal could be broken with a massive infusion of magic. Driven by curiosity, Sono poured his power into it. Suddenly, a triangular object manifested before him. It was a dimensional fragment, 1/5 of the whole. Collect all the fragments to synthesize a dimensional key, the system explained. A key that can open a door to any dimension. These fragments also possessed an uncanny ability to attract one another. Sono stared at the piece, utterly bewildered. This thing feels useless right now, he muttered. And to make it worse, my copy skill doesn't even work on it. How am I supposed to find the others? Just then, Mal entered the room. There's something I must confirm with you, she said, her tone serious. In one fluid motion, Mal drew her longsword. A wave of panic washed over Sono. What are you doing? He cried out, but she offered no reply. Instead, he raised his blade without hesitation. He plunged it deep into Sono's heart as blood erupted forth. 15 years ago, Europe was torn apart by the Great Disaster, when a terrifying, colossal beast rampaged through the city. It was a lower horned dragon, level 500 plus. Its power was said to be on par with the legendary higher horned dragons. This monster was a creature of fire, so mages were ordered to counter it with ice. One mage shot forward into the fray. After a series of nimble flips and dodges, he secured a position behind the beast. His magic circle flared to life as he unleashed a torrent of ice magic. But it was no use. The ice spikes shattered against the dragon's mighty wings, completely ineffective. The sheer force of the blow sent him hurtling back several meters. Damn it! Where did a superclass monster like this come from? The mage cursed. We were completely outmatched. The lower horned dragon then opened its massive jaws and breathed out a sea of flames. The scorching inferno instantly engulfed the closest hunters. Soon, the entire city was rocked by massive explosions. Hunters watching from afar were gripped by terror. Turning to flee for their lives, the entire city had been plunged into a living hell. As a newly awakened rookie hunter, I felt completely and utterly doomed. But in that moment, a man appeared before me. A sudden spark of hope in my despairing heart. It was the world's greatest hunter, Frederick Shu. Thank you for saving me, I thought. But in the very next second, Frederick was swallowed whole by the lower horned dragon. Only the lower half of his body was left standing. I went pale with fright, collapsing limply to the ground. Just then, the dragon began to change. Its pained roars echoed across the ravaged land. Its entire body began to swell, until it finally detonated in a cataclysmic blast. A huge shockwave swept over everything. At that moment, he appeared again, standing right in front of me. I was in total shock. You're actually alive, I exclaimed. I had just seen it happen with my own 2 eyes. When I looked back to where the body had been, only black charcoal remained, scattering in the wind. Frederick, didn't I tell you not to use that move in front of outsiders? A voice scolded. Only then did I realize a female mage was standing right behind me. She was the one who had protected me from the explosion. It was an emergency, he said. And this was the fastest way to defeat that monster.
The lower horned dragon's scales are incredibly hard. Normal attacks had absolutely no effect on it.
If we had let it go on, this entire country would have been annihilated. You saw it, didn't you? I hope you can help me keep this a secret. Just then, other hunters began to close in. Seeing this, Frederick turned to leave. Goodbye. I hope when we meet again, you'll have grown into a great hunter. I hurried forward and introduced myself.
I'm Mal Grant, from the Grant family. A recently awakened hunter, please remember me. I'll remember you, Mal.
Grant, a hunter with a skill that transcends death itself. This was the world's greatest hunter, Frederick Shu. However, I never expected that long after he vanished. I would meet someone else with that very same skill. I know this is rash, but I must see for myself if my guess is correct. Raising his hand, he swung the blade, stabbing toward Sano. The moment Sano died, his body turned to ash and scattered. Then, Sano revived, appearing right behind Mal.
Why did you kill me? Mal breathed a sigh of relief. His insane gamble had been correct.
I am truly sorry, but no matter what, I had to see this skill with my own eyes. Weren't you afraid your guess was wrong? What if I had really died? At this moment, Shinoda Satoru appeared at the door, witnessing the entire scene.
Why are you still here? This was getting more and more troublesome. After some explanation and a sincere apology, Mal pledged to serve at Sano's side as compensation.
So, a skill that allows resurrection from death truly exists.
Is this the secret to Senpai's overwhelming power? This realization made Shinoda Satoru extremely excited. Let's put this aside for now. By the way, Aries, didn't you go home?
How did you come back? It's because of this thing. Sono looked in surprise at the item in Eris's hand. Dimensional fragments possess an ability to attract one another. While Eris was on his way home, the fragment he carried suddenly began to react. Following its powerful guidance, he returned to this very spot. The fragment in Sono's hand was number 5. The one in Ares' hand was number 1. Mine is a unique reward I obtained from destroying the giant's heart. And mine is my mother's relic. According to the notes she left behind, the fragments attract each other. Now, it's been confirmed. This means it'll be easier to obtain the other fragments in the future. By the way, what exactly is this thing for? If you collect all the fragments, you can synthesize a key to the dimensional gate. It's like the multi-dimensional maze we experienced this time. If you possess this key, you can move freely throughout multi-dimensional space. So, you came to Japan, not just to find your mother, but also to collect information about the dimensional fragments. I know my parents are alive, somewhere in another dimension. I feel it too. There's no way they vanished that easily, which means they could be trapped right now. Or something is preventing them from coming back. But what could possibly be holding them? The thought is chilling. Perhaps something even more terrifying than the great disaster 15 years ago. No matter what, with the dimensional key in our hands, we can seal the dimensional mazes and stop another catastrophe. But how can a mere fragment function as a key? At that moment, Little Stone gently nudged the shimmering piece. Instantly, a magnetic force pulled the two shards together. A blinding light erupted from the point of contact. When the brilliance subsided, the fragments had fused into one. So this is how they connect. The hum of power between them was now stronger than ever. Meanwhile, at the European headquarters of the Star Stadium Guild, the elven man felt his own fragment thrum with energy. A wicked, knowing smile crept across his lips. The time has come. I can finally return home, he mused. In a flash, a white-haired man materialized behind him. What has you so amused? The white-haired man asked. The Blood Tower Guild has gone silent. It seems their mission was a failure. Recognizing the presence, the elf dropped to one knee instantly. Lord Michael, he said, congratulations on mastering Control C. You can now move without restraint. You are one step closer to becoming a true transcendent. For now, it only allows for short-range teleportation, Michael replied coolly.
I must absorb more skills for it to evolve. But rest assured, that day is coming. The dimensional fragments just resonated.
Two of the pieces must have just combined, the one I possess. Will lead us to the rest. Does that mean you can return home soon? The elf asked. But doesn't your world have its own dimensional key? It does, Michael clarified. However, opening the dimensional gate from my side is currently impossible. 15 years ago, that meddling mage they call the Western Hunter sealed every dimensional gate connected to Blue Star. He shattered the key into 5 pieces and scattered them across this world, sealing them away.
Once we gather all the fragments and break his seal, the gates will open once more. Then we will travel to my homeland, Fairyland, Michael continued. We will open a path to the sacred world tree itself. A power similar to Control C awaits there. If you absorb it, your strength will grow beyond measure. The elf's eyes gleamed. A worthy prize.
But is it truly the same as the control key? Michael scoffed. You yourself were stunned when you first witnessed my power. Do you take me for a fool? I know exactly what you desire. Your home? The land of elves. Its world tree was corrupted centuries ago. Now you call it the Dark Tree, and it is on the brink of complete annihilation. During the Great Disaster 15 years ago, the dimensions of Blue Star and the elves overlapped.
Your people tried to shift that corruption onto this world. But the Western Hunter thwarted your plan. So tell me, what is your true goal?
Michael's gaze was piercing. Do the elves intend to finish what they started? And reconnect the two worlds? Are you merely using me to achieve that end? A cold sweat beaded on the elf's brow. He scrambled for an excuse, his guilt palpable. But the white-haired man cut him off. In truth, I don't care about any of that. My only desire is to use you, to open gates to countless other worlds, and absorb enough power to become a transcendent. What becomes of this world is of no concern to me. From this day forward, I act alone. Hearing this, pure panic seized the elf. You can't go, Lord Michael, he cried out. You are the master of the Star Stadium Guild. To leave without cause would attract unwanted attention. I have already accounted for that, Michael stated calmly. That is why I've ordered Lucas to execute Plan B.
Once the preparations are complete, I will have all the justification I need. Meanwhile, in Japan, Sano led Shinoda, Satoru, and Maul to conquer a high-level maze, the Forest of Death. Their target the Null, a fearsome level 90 beast born from a fusion of fairy and wolf. While their individual power was unimpressive, they were wickedly smart and hunted in packs, making them incredibly dangerous. Sano, Shinoda stammered, his voice trembling. There are so many, and there are only 3 of us. Retreat. Don't be ridiculous, Sano scoffed. This is the perfect grinding spot. He then eagerly began taunting the nearby Nulls. What are you waiting for? Come and get me. His challenge instantly enraged the entire pack. Shinoda was on the verge of tears. Sano-senpai, what have you done?
In the next instant, a wave of nulls charged straight for them. Sano smirked, activating Control +5. He used a gargoyle core to summon a single stone guardian, then spammed the skill, rapidly creating an entire army. The Stone Legion surged forward, crashing head-on into the tide of nulls. Shinoda, Satoru, and Maul could only watch, completely awestruck. How could Senpai possess so many cores? Maul's mind reeled. Sono just offered a cryptic smile. Let's just enjoy the show, he wondered. What kind of monstrous skill is that? He can summon an entire legion of gargoyles. In an instant, the two forces collided. A brutal battle erupted. The gargoyle army surged forward with crushing power, blasting a massive wave of enemies into the air. Heh, they fight like a bunch of thugs, Sono mused inwardly. My little stone soldiers better not pick up their bad habits. The skirmish was over in a flash. Sono knelt down, patting one of his stone creations. You all worked hard, he said with a genuine smile. He recalled them with a thought, then opened his system inventory. Shh, not enough space to create a proper gargoyle squad, he muttered.
Forget it, I'll deal with that later. Right now, I need to see Arita Sarah.
Soon after, a Mercedes G-Class tore down the road. I never figured you for a guy with a car, one of his companions remarked. It was a birthday gift from my father, Sono replied casually. Oh, right, his companion remembered. I almost forgot this guy. Is the young master of the Great Sage Guild. They soon arrived at the Hunter Association's interrogation facility. Inside, Arita Sarah sat alone in profound silence. She hadn't eaten in 3 days. No matter what they asked, she refused to speak, only repeating that she had to see Sono. Can we speak privately, Sono requested. I'm very sorry, an officer replied. Given the gravity of this investigation, we cannot grant your request. Sono's mind raced. Then I'll have to use Control Plus to erase their memories later. He stepped inside with a cup of water. You must be thirsty. Drink this, then we'll talk, he offered. Arita Sarah met his gaze for a moment, then took the cup and drank it all.
You want to know my ability, don't you? She asked. It's no secret. My skill is infinite mana generation.
If you agree to help me, I will cooperate fully. But before that, I need to confirm one thing.
You have the power to restore anything. The ability called Control Plus. Am I right? She asked. Yes, Sono confirmed grimly. It's a cursed ability.
I knew it. I'm not the only one cursed, she whispered. Realization struck Sono like lightning. In other words, I can copy and paste her skill. If I can get this one, I can copy and paste any control type skill in the future. Outside, the observers were stunned. Restoration, a curse control. Plus, what in the world were they talking about? Can skills like that even exist? Her ability isn't healing. It's restoration. That's how the Tylesia Dragon Sword's durability was recovered, someone exclaimed. Arita Sarah's voice trembled slightly. My parents are in a coma.
I need a colossal amount of mana to restore them. You are the only one who can provide that much. Please. I'm begging you, she pleaded.
I understand, Sono replied, his voice firm. I can give you all the mana you need.
But in exchange, I need you. He placed his hand over hers on the table. The Watchers were completely baffled. What on earth was Sono planning?
The next second, a surge of power erupted from him. Sono activated his ability. Copy target skill Control Plus. But then, a system window flashed. Copying impossible. Confusion crashed over him. What? Why didn't it work? He wondered. I suspected some skills couldn't be copied. But to run into one right now? Damn it all. Why is my luck so terrible today? Arita Sarah stared at the hand gripping hers, her face flushed with bewilderment. What are you doing? Sono snapped out of it, quickly pulling his hand back. At that moment, a sinister red dialogue box materialized before him. It read, Control C skills. Special skills cannot be copied. However, absorption is possible upon target elimination. By meeting this condition, normal skill acquisition is enabled. Sono felt a cold dread wash over him.
What a cruel, monstrous rule. I can't just kill someone to steal a skill, he thought desperately. There has to be another way.
Maybe I could wait until she dies of old age and absorb it then. Outside, the team could only watch the bizarre interaction, completely puzzled.
What is Senior Sono doing? Nice couldn't take the suspense any longer and demanded to know what was happening.
Sono quickly replied, Sorry, my apologies, I was just spacing out. Everything is proceeding smoothly in here. He made his choice. Forget it. First, I'll help wake her parents. That will build trust. Maybe a better opportunity will appear. And if not, I can always cooperate with her. That same afternoon, they all gathered at the Hunter Center Hospital.
This facility was filled with those who were attacked by unknown creatures during the Great Disaster, all suffering from mana poisoning.
This was the only place that could treat such patients. Sono considered. Was this why Kurosaki wanted to cooperate? The cost of treatment must be astronomical. Then it hit him. Kurosaki is receiving treatment here as well, isn't he? Yes, in the underground ward. Someone confirmed. Once he wakes, he'll be moved to prison for interrogation. At that moment, a man brushed past Maul in the hallway. Maul froze. Why? Is that guy here? It was Lucas, the user of Control F. The scene shifts, following him as he makes his way toward the underground facility, Model. 2 guards moved swiftly to block his path. This is a restricted area, they announced firmly.
Unauthorized entry is forbidden. But Lucas simply smirked, revealing a small, unassuming card. Thank you for your hard work, he said.
This is my permit. However, the card bore only a single letter F. In the next second, the ink began to writhe and change.
A torrent of black energy erupted from the card, lashing out and completely engulfing the 2 guards.
After this dark baptism, their eyes turned vacant. They had been transformed into mindless puppets, loyal only to him. Lucas strode past them without a second glance, making his way toward Kurosaki. He then revealed a strange, pulsating orb. Wrapped in violet leaves, it constantly leaked a sinister black aura. Lucas! A voice from his memory echoed.
There is a task only you can complete. If the Blood Tower Guild should fail, I need you to unleash this upon all of City C.
The memory of that thing sent a wave of revulsion through him. He had instinctively recoiled from its presence. This is a fruit from my homeland, the voice had continued. A prize from a contaminated world tree. Using this fruit as a catalyst, we can tear open a subspace. You may not comprehend what a subspace truly is, the voice added with a hint of mockery. Allow me to give you a demonstration. The vision that followed had filled Lucas with absolute terror. The elf had opened a portal, and through the tear in reality, a colossal, monstrous beast stared back, snapping back to the present. Lucas stared down at the cursed purple fruit in his hand. He thought, that bastard plans to plunge the entire city into hell itself. Damn it all. I have to save them. They're too connected to my family. Now is not the time for hesitation. Elsewhere, in an upstairs hospital room, Arita Sarah's parents had made a miraculous recovery. She watched as even the stoic Satoru was moved to tears by the heartwarming reunion. But Na-En saw something else entirely, a power beyond belief. Is restoration truly mightier than the world's greatest healers? I have to find a way to bind this girl to our association. And speaking of which, where did Maul run off to? Meanwhile, in a hospital corridor, Lucas had already revived Kurosaki and was leading him out. Just then, a system window materialized before Lucas. It read, Control type skill user detected nearby. Kurosaki flinched at the alert. He wondered if Sarah was visiting her parents, and if that other guy was with her. In that very instant, Maul appeared from around the corner. Lucas, it really is you. I almost didn't recognize you. And Kurosaki? You're actually awake. His tone sharpened. I heard you quit the Hunter Association. So what are you doing here helping him escape makes you an accomplice? Maul unsheathed his weapon. Lucas watched him, unimpressed. You're as reckless as ever. I see. Did you forget we're in a hospital? Maul scoffed back. Stay out of this. I'll teach him a lesson he won't forget. But then, Sono materialized from the shadows directly behind Maul. I'm here too, he announced. Maul stared in disbelief. You bastard! That's my skill. A new alert flashed in Lucas's vision. Detected users of Control plus E and Control plus 5 target directly ahead. I've finally found you. Control plus, Lucas muttered. This situation was spiraling out of control. One disaster after another.
First Kurosaki, and now an international criminal has appeared. As the newcomer, Nanise, revealed his weapon. Both Lucas and Sono were stunned into silence.
That's the witch's blade, someone gasped from the crowd. Nanise sighed to himself. Today is officially a terrible day. I always get stuck with overtime. The sight of his weapon immediately drew a crowd of onlookers. Isn't that Hunter Nanise? Why is he drawing his weapon inside a hospital? People whispered nervously. Nanise calmly addressed the escalating tension. Look around us. This is a hospital. Can we not resolve this peacefully? He then produced 2 pairs of mana suppression handcuffs. If you're willing to wear these, I'd be happy to discuss this with you both. But the air was thick with killing intent. It was obvious that talk was no longer an option. In a desperate move, Kurosaki grabbed a nearby bystander. He screamed, Don't you get it? Everyone here is my hostage. Can we resolve this peacefully now? However, in the next second, Nanise moved with blinding speed, delivering a single, powerful kick.
Kurosaki was sent flying, crashing hard against the corridor wall before spitting out a torrent of blood. Seeing this, Lucas broke out in a cold sweat.
He thought, that attack was too fast. I couldn't even see it. Nanise then slowly turned his piercing gaze toward Lucas. Lucas, surely you're different from Kurosaki. Can't we settle this peacefully? Lucas glanced at the fallen warrior. a silent war raging within him. Should I use that power? His gaze then fell upon Nanise. I need to know. Why me? Nanise revealed a dark truth. This is dark magic. Born from the contaminated world tree, it poisons ordinary mortals. But you're different, aren't you? You are just like the master of the Blood Tower Guild. Lucas's eyes widened. You mean Kurosaki is also...
Yes, Nanise confirmed. He channels dark magic to fuel his abilities. Now, don't hesitate. Unleash your dark power. Let the fruit of this tainted tree finally bloom. Lucas sighed, his voice heavy with regret. I am truly sorry.
Like Kurosaki, I have no intention of settling this peacefully with you. From the void, he summoned his blade.
I will take him back, no matter the cost. That sword, it is the legendary prayer sword. Lucas hails from the noble Holy Knight family of Countrywise.
They are the keepers of a sacred weapon, passed down for generations. A holy sword said to rival even the great Corisia dragon sword. However, its power isn't in boosting levels or attributes. The sword bears a special name, the Heretic Inquisitor. Its sole purpose is to nullify any skill or weapon it deems heretical. And Hunter Nanise, wielding the cursed witch's blade, was instantly judged a heretic. The holy sword moved to purge its existence. A surge of panic shot through Sono, who rushed to help. I'm fine, don't worry, Nanise said calmly. It barely scratched the queen's blade. Now then, it's my turn, Nanise declared. He raised his sword and unleashed a strike, but Lucas evaded the attack with ease. It seems this hospital is limiting your performance, Lucas taunted. You can't defeat me without using your skills. In the next instant, Lucas ate his words. A flash of steel severed his tie, and a storm of attacks followed immediately after. A single devastating blow landed square on Lucas's chest. The force was absolutely overwhelming. Lucas was sent flying backward, coughing up blood. The impact felt like it was going to tear him apart from the inside. He thought in shock. It seems even a holy sword can't bridge the gap in our raw power. Is this the strength of the world's 10th ranked hunter? Lucas wondered. I truly didn't want to use my skill here, but you're forcing my hand. Just then, Kurosaki's voice ripped through the air. You damn bastard, he yelled. He had regained consciousness and was back on his feet. In his hand, a contaminated world tree fruit was already beginning to bloom. Since you want to protect this hospital so badly, Kurosaki snarled.
I'll reduce it all to nothing. He then plunged the sinister fruit deep into the ground. Stop it! This is a hospital! Someone cried out in horror. Kurosaki merely smirked. You were going to plant these at key locations in City C anyway.
So let me just plant one right here in the hospital, too.
A torrent of dark magic erupted from the earth, corroding everything it touched. This is dark magic power, someone realized. Only those with dark skills possess it.
But this amount, it's overwhelming. At this rate, everyone in the hospital would die from mana poisoning. Damn it, Sono cursed, immediately activating shadow movement. He appeared behind Kurosaki in a flash, binding him with spider silk. Too late, it can't be stopped. Kurosaki cackled. The world tree fruit, which had been a mere flower a second ago, exploded with terrifying growth. Everyone scrambled to get out of its path. Its thick branches rampaged through every corner of the building. In an instant, a small world tree had formed, riddling the entire hospital with holes. The ordinary people trapped inside were suddenly in a crisis. Sono and the others immediately launched a rescue operation. Are you okay? Please evacuate this way, as quickly as you can. They urged the patients onward, but many were too weak to move. And even as they helped, the entire hospital was filling with demonic energy. If this continued, everyone inside would perish from mana poisoning. There's no other way, Sono realized. We have to restore the hospital itself. With that, he used shadow movement to search for Eridasara. Amidst the rubble, Koichi and Shinoda Satoru were busy rescuing civilians. Sono teleported directly behind Shinoda Satoru, who informed him that Eridasara's room was surprisingly still intact. When they reached the room, they found its entrance blocked by thick walls of ice. Ari had cast an ice barrier to protect the area. However, it wasn't enough to stop the demonic energy from seeping through. Once the ice walls shattered, Sono and the others rushed inside. He explained the dire situation to Eridasara. The enemy had completely ravaged the hospital, using a monstrous tree to spread demonic energy everywhere. Sono believed the only solution was for Eridasara to use her skill and restore everything to normal. Eridasara readily agreed, stating that with Sono's infinite supply of mana, restoring everything would be no problem at all. The scene then shifted, showing everyone standing before the giant, demonic tree. This thing is even more massive than I imagined, Sono commented. Someone asked, where did it come from? It was Kurosaki, came the reply. He escaped and unleashed this thing. The revelation sent a shockwave through the group. Eridasara's voice was cold. He knew my parents were still in this hospital, yet he still did this. He doesn't care about their lives at all. Then let's begin, Sono said.
He immediately started transferring a massive torrent of mana to Eridasara. She, in turn, placed her hand on the tree's trunk and began to release her skill. But in that exact instant, the tree seemed to sense the danger. It immediately began to retract its roots. Soon, all the roots that had spread throughout the hospital pulled back, forming a massive barrier that blocked Eridasara's path. Without warning, a gaping maw tore open on the tree's trunk. A torrent of demonic energy erupted, blasting directly towards Eridasura. Seeing this, Sano's heart pounded with dread. He lunged forward without hesitation. Activating his skill control 5, Giant King Spider Silk. Instantly, a web of immense power formed a protective barrier. A heartbeat later, a deafening explosion ripped through the air. The silk and dark energy vanished in the blast. Shinot Satoru immediately rushed to his side, his face etched with worry. Senior Sano? Are you all right? Shinot Satoru cried out. I'm fine, Sano replied through gritted teeth. But Eridasara? She's unconscious. It seems the restoration failed. We need to evacuate everyone. Now, or this poison will consume them all. Without a word, Shinoda Storu scooped up Eridasara and sprinted for the hospital exit. Sano turned to the menacing tree and demanded, Ares? What in the world is that thing? Ares' expression was grim. According to my mother's records, it may originate from another world, a dimension completely separate from our own. I believe it's a fruit from a contaminated world tree, Ares explained. Its only purpose is to bleed corruption from its world into ours. The main body of the world tree exists in another dimension, he added. That's why simple restoration magic is useless against it here. These fruits also function as barriers. The enemy plans to plant them all across City C, encircling us. Sano's blood ran cold at the revelation. A catastrophe of unimaginable scale was about to begin. 10 minutes later, at the hospital entrance, the scene was chaos. Rescue teams scrambled to evacuate the endless stream of casualties. Magic hunters desperately cast purification spells, fighting to push back the encroaching demonic energy. But it was no use. The corruption was endless. Just then, Hunter Association President Fua and Takuchi Tsuyoshi arrived on the scene. So it's true. A contaminated world tree from another dimension, one of them muttered, his voice grim. To see it with my own eyes. It's still hard to fathom. The other agreed. Nanise will have to take full responsibility for this disaster. I never imagined Kurosaki could slip past the world-renowned hunter, Nai. And if Lucas is also involved, the first speaker added, then the International Hunter Association will have some serious explaining to do. Suddenly, the ground began to tremble violently. Panic erupted as no one knew what was happening. A hunter rushed toward President Fua, his face pale with terror. Sir, a report from the North District. A second world tree has appeared. Damn it, Kurosaki is moving faster than we thought now. 2 colossal, twisted trees loomed over the city. Both monoliths pulsed with a black, demonic aura. A single breath of it was enough to poison anyone instantly. The surrounding areas were immediately designated as high-level restriction zones. A city-wide evacuation order was issued. The streets descended into chaos, clogged with evacuating citizens. Intel confirmed it. These were fruits of a contaminated world tree from another realm. The black miasma spewing from them originated from that otherworldly tree. These 2 trees served as conduits, channeling that corruption directly into their world. Blue Star. In this chaos, there's no way they'll ever find us. By the way, I didn't realize you could be so ruthless. Using black magic to brainwash civilians, turning them into mindless puppets who obey your every command. It's quite the move. Lucas's face twisted with rage. Shut your mouth. This is all your fault now. Now, don't get angry. I was just giving you a compliment. The whole world is hunting for us. But as long as you're with me, they'll never find a thing. After all, who would ever suspect we'd be hiding right under their noses? In a police car. 3 more locations to go. Let's move. Meanwhile, back at the Hunter Association's headquarters, Sano and the others were desperately planning their next move. So, you're saying 2 or 3 more of these trees will sprout, surrounding the entire city to form some kind of massive barrier? Yes, at least that's what my mother's notes describe. This exact same phenomenon occurred during the Great Disaster, 15 years ago. These contaminated trees serve as both a barrier and a gate. Once the barrier is complete, hordes of contaminated monsters will pour through. The Great Disaster from 15 years ago. Is this really all connected? Sano's mind flashed back. I remember. Our car was attacked by the roots of that tree. My father was driving like a madman, trying to get us away. To save me. Damn it. It's the same thing all over again. Who would unleash this nightmare on the city? But even at full speed, they couldn't escape. The roots attacked without mercy, piercing straight through the car. As the traumatic memory surfaced, the cursed hourglass on his neck began to glow with a faint blue light. Is this connected to my curse?
Damn it all, if the mastermind is the same person from back then, I swear I'll make them pay. Now I remember. Another official spoke up. There was a tree in the city back then, but I was handling a dungeon break at the time. I couldn't pay it any mind. It would forge a barrier, a gateway between dimensions, and could even tear open a subspace. Why go through all this trouble? What's so special about this subspace?
It couldn't be a pocket dimension for Dark Souls, could it?
The legends were clear. Dark Souls require an environment saturated with demonic energy. The contaminated trees create the perfect gateway for their descent. As things stood, a subspace opening was almost certain. But in the worst-case scenario, a gate to another world entirely could be ripped open. Hearing the word subspace, an idea sparked in Sano's mind. A legendary opportunity. If he could copy that dimension into his infinite space, he'd solve his storage problem and create a limitless army of gargoyles. Wouldn't I become invincible? I have to find the mastermind and claim that subspace for myself. The conversation shifted to dimensional keys. Tsukiyoshi scoffed at the idea until Sono revealed the 2 fragments in his possession. Tsuyoshi's eyes widened in disbelief. Are these really dimensional keys? He demanded. Merely 2 pieces of the whole. You need to gather all 5 for its true power to awaken. My mother's journal spoke of a contaminated gate, one that opened long ago in Country Y. Now, with these tainted trees and fragments reappearing, it must be the same outsiders from back then, making their move once again. They probably have fragments of their own. Just then, Shiosaki's voice cut through the tension. Actually, our guild possesses one as well. An hour later, they stood before the future guild's underground vault. This door is immense. Master Shiosaki, how did you acquire your fragment? You didn't get it from the black market, did you? It would be a disaster if it were a fake. But Sono knew. A true fragment lay within. He could feel the resonance between the pieces. As the colossal door ground open, the vault's interior was unveiled. Inside the cavernous space, a single item floated in the very center. It was dimensional fragment number 4, sealed within a shimmering barrier. Fearing the unknown, only Sano and Shiosaki dared to enter. This development brought a smirk to Takuchi Tsuyoshi face. If you accidentally unleash some catastrophe, he thought, the price you pay will be steep. The heavy doors sealed them in as they approached the relic. Can't you at least tell me its origin? Sono pressed. Shiosaki shot back. Enough idle chatter. Let's begin. The moment you combine them, get inside my barrier. Sono just scoffed. No need to be so cautious. I've merged these before, so relax. He boasted with a confident smirk. Besides, I have movement skills. I can escape in an instant. The second Sono's hand touched the fragment, the barrier around it shattered into light. An otherworldly glow erupted from the dimensional piece. What's happening? Sono cried out. A cataclysmic explosion rocked the entire vault. Fortunately, Sono teleported to safety in the nick of time. A moment later, and he would have been annihilated. He thought, I never imagined the fragments would merge on their own. He realized with a chill, if joining the 3rd fragment created that much power, what will happen when the 4th one awakens? As the dust settled, Shiosaki stared at where Sono had just reappeared, his eyes burning with suspicion. Who are you? He demanded. Sano feigned ignorance. I'm Sono. What's gotten into you? In the next instant, Shiosaki's hand shot out, seizing Sono by the throat. How can you use the ultimate class forward movement skill? What is wrong with you? Sono choked out. But Shirosaki's grip only tightened. Tell me, how can you use dark skills without channeling a single drop of dark magic? Damn it, Sono thought. How do I explain this? Do I reveal my greatest secret? He stammered. I can't use dark magic power. But Shiosaki wasn't buying such an obvious lie. He raised his staff, and arcs of black lightning crackled around Sono. Cursed luck, Sono thought. Why won't my shadow movement activate? A cruel sneer formed on Shiosaki's face. Wondering why your precious skill won't work. That's because black lightning is its perfect counter. The only skill that can seal shadow movement. I've suspected you from the very beginning. He revealed. Spit it out. Who are you, really? What went down on that snow mountain with Kurosaki? Was this all part of your grand design? Sono cursed under his breath. Damn it all. How do I even begin to explain this? Walking in here alone with him was a terrible mistake. Sono knew his options were gone. It has to be this way. He resolved. Then, he unleashed his skill. Control. Copy Giant King, Spider Silk. Instantly, a storm of silk threads erupted, weaving an inescapable web around Shiosaki. He was cocooned in moments, sealed within a tight ball. But the very next second, a terrifying power pulsed from within. Boom! The silk prison detonated from the inside. Shirosaki stood before him, completely unharmed. If you don't start talking, Shiosaki warned, his voice dangerously low, Is he serious about killing me? Sano's mind raced. Why is he this furious? Shiosaki was a different being entirely, his aura twisting into pure darkness as he prepared to unleash his true power. In this life or death moment, Sono knew he had only one path forward. Without hesitation, he summoned his system panel, materializing 2 vials of the highest grade potions.
The description was clear. Negates 95% of damage, cannot be stacked, ineffective on a deceased target.
Just then, Shiosaki unleashed his fury. A torrent of black lightning surged directly toward Sono.
A wave of pure panic washed over Sono as his health plummeted. He roared, Control 5 health below 25%. Activate Carisia Dragon Sword skill. Berserk mode.
He issued another command. Control 5, equip the Carisia Dragon Sword. In an instant, a blinding aura exploded from Sono, obliterating the encroaching darkness. He fixed his gaze on Shiosaki. You're the one who forced my hand.
With a low growl, Sono swung his blade in a devastating arc. Shiosaki could only cry out, Damn it! What is this power? A cataclysmic explosion erupted, leaving Shiosaki battered and bleeding from the mouth. And then, a memory pierced through time.
Brother, what should we name our guild? I want it to be the strongest one day. What about the future guild? I love it. Another voice chimed in. The memory unfolded. We'll definitely make it the #1 guild in the world. Brother, I'll help you become the world's strongest hunter. The world's strongest hunter? That has a nice ring to it. The other voice agreed with a laugh. The scene shifted. 10 years ago, they stood against the King of Hell himself, unafraid and ultimately victorious. But later, while preparing for another dungeon raid, they realized an unknown person had infiltrated their ranks. Shiosaki, however, brushed it off. This is a pretty famous dungeon, he said. It's normal for a few new faces to show up. Besides, we have your return skill. We can escape any danger we run into. But even so, Nani was deeply unsettled. Then, at the very climax of the raid, disaster struck. The mysterious bandaged man turned on them. You bastard! What are you doing? Someone screamed. The man just sneered. This is a dark magic addiction toxin.
Once exposed to air, it slowly corrupts the mind. Soon, you'll all devolve into mindless monsters. Worse than ghouls.
A hunter shouted, Give us the antidote right now, or I'll kill you. You must have gotten the final reward. The shadow movement skill.
Give it to me, the bandaged man demanded. And I'll tell you how to save your brother.
He added, But without the power of dark magic, that skill is completely useless to you. Left with no choice, Shiosaki handed over the precious skill book. The man wasn't finished. The ancestral sword, Glory, from the Cooper family in Country Y. It's the only thing that can protect you from the toxin's effects. What? You're not giving us the antidote, you liar, Shiosaki roared. The bandaged man only laughed. There is no antidote for dark magic addiction. Oh, and one more thing. This is a moving dungeon.
Once cleared, it relocates, and this entire space will collapse. You bastard!
You never planned on letting us leave alive, Shiosaki screamed in fury. Goodbye, little hunters, the man mocked as he vanished. The world began to crumble. Noni, holding a strange artifact, said, Brother, I found this in the boss room. I don't know what it is, but it's special. Brother, I can't go on with you any longer. No. As Nankei's return skill forcibly activated, Shiosaki was teleported alone back to the quiet guild office. A heartbeat later, a soul-shattering roar of pure agony tore from his throat, echoing toward the heavens. Back in the present, 10 long years have passed. I've searched every dungeon I could find. But that moving dungeon was never seen again. I know the chances are slim that my brother is alive, but I have to bring him home, even if it's only his remains. No wonder they call him the Dungeon Otaku. Just now, he continued, your survival was thanks to the Dragon Sword's effect. This is why I had to study dark magic and its forbidden skills.
I couldn't care less about the International Hunter Association and their damn rules.
Most dark skills were supposed to have been destroyed. Shadow movement is even rarer. Only that bandaged bastard should be able to use it. So, you wanted to know how Kurosaki and I learned it? Fine. I'll tell you. No need, a calm voice interrupted. You just used the Carisia Dragon Sword, didn't you? I doubt Ares would have just given that to you. I think I understand your ability now. It's a power similar to theft, isn't it? Just like you took that sword, you must have stolen the shadow movement skill. I sincerely apologize for my misunderstanding. So, you're just a user of thief-class skills, Shiosaki retorted. If you're really sorry, maybe leave out the word thief. He then looked at Sono. Once the dimensional keys are gathered, I want to join you. Meanwhile, in another location, Kurosaki had just finished planting another corrupted world tree. With the conflict finally resolved, Sono and Shiosaki walked out of the treasury together. Questions hung in the air about what transpired inside. but Sono masterfully deflected them. I just received an urgent report, he announced. The third contaminated world tree has manifested, and with its location revealed, we can finally predict Kurosaki's next devastating move. But first, we need to rally the hunters near Ginza. Judging by the barrier's size and position, the subspace will erupt right in the heart of the city. If we can intercept him before the fourth world tree emerges, we might just have a chance to win this.
I need to return to the association and gather our forces. Are you two coming with me? No, that's all right. We have our own preparations to attend to.
And so, their paths diverged, each moving to fulfill their own crucial role. Meanwhile, in the heart of Europe, Michael Sma and his guild were holding a clandestine meeting. They had just received a request for support from Country H. As expected, Country M had also been alerted. The time was finally upon them. The subspace will open as planned, won't it, one member asked.
Of course, Michael replied with a smirk. The subspace's arrival is inevitable, and it will be teeming with goblins and half-orc monstrosities.
Just goblins and half-orcs. Someone scoffed in disbelief. Are you underestimating the hunters of Country H? Michael's smile never faltered. Don't worry, everything is proceeding exactly as I've designed. Still, do not underestimate this mission. The moment that subspace opens in City C, a devastating debuff will fall over the entire area. We must succeed this time, no matter the cost. That goes without saying. Another agreed. Soon after, the ferryman took his leave. At the same time, in Country M's White House, a far more desperate conversation was unfolding. Has that thing truly manifested in Country H? A commander demanded. Yes, sir, an aide confirmed grimly. It first appeared in Country Y 15 years ago. These beings, they originate from the same dimension as the Dark Souls subspace. This development places us in extreme peril. If a direct gateway opens between their world and ours, it could signify the end of everything. I heard the International Hunter Association has already dispatched their people to assist.
Another official noted. Just then, his secretary received an emergency transmission.
Commander, she announced, there's a priority video call from the Hunter Association. With his approval, the main screen flickered to life. A desperate face appeared. Mr. Commander, the man on screen pleaded, we are facing a catastrophe. This situation may be spiraling beyond our control. According to our intel, the Rattlesnake, Guild's aircraft is already en route to Country H. The commander shot up. You mean to tell me Turner is on the move? He paused, the gravity of the news sinking in.
Turner is transporting most of the Guild's special equipment. He's a walking nuclear bomb that could go off at any moment.
I can only pray he doesn't do anything reckless. This is no longer Country H's problem alone, the commander stated with grim finality. Assemble our most elite hunter squad and dispatch them for immediate support. The scene then shifts back to the third corrupted world tree. From a distant rooftop, Lucas silently watched the colossal structure, a lone figure against the sky. It's just as Kurosaki said. He thought to himself, I'm no different from him now. A heavy sigh escaped his lips. Even though it was all to protect my family, this nightmare is my fault. It all began the day I awakened that accursed skill. Control F. In an instant, a torrent of information from all media flooded his very soul. It was a maelstrom of humanity's deepest resentment and fragile hope. He could feel the consciousness and deaths of countless monsters. For one agonizing week, his own consciousness threatened to shatter, leaving him completely catatonic. At his breaking point, in sheer desperation, he tried to end his own life to stop the curse. But ironically, in that moment of ultimate despair, he found the key to controlling it. His family guarded a sacred heirloom, the Angel Sword, a holy blade of immense power. As long as he wielded it, the curse of Control F would be suppressed. In time choice, he gradually started to adapt to the curse's overwhelming power. Then, a world-altering incident occurred. A dimensional gate ripped open in Country Y. Western hunters soon arrived, demanding to borrow the holy sword. But his father, driven by a desire to protect his son, staunchly refused them. As a result, Country Y suffered catastrophic losses, and the Cooper family's status and power crumbled into dust. This tragedy spurred Lucas to begin researching the curse himself. After trying every method he could imagine, he uncovered a dark and terrifying truth. Only dark magic could grant him true dominion over this power. He knew if he ever let his guard down, even for a second, the skill would completely consume him. That is why the holy sword never left his side. Eventually, he met them, and through them, his family was able to rise from the ashes. But this restoration came at a soul-crushing price. Michael Sama had threatened him, demanding he use Control F to hunt down all the other cursed ones. Once they were located, Michael would eliminate them and steal their cursed power for himself. He had been using the excuse of protecting his family for far too long. The truth is, I'm simply afraid of death, he admitted to himself. I am a coward. Now that we know who holds the control skill, if a curse this powerful falls into Michael Sama's hands, What fresh hell will be unleashed? I need to see this through to the end. With newfound resolve, Lucas sealed away the holy sword. In that instant, the full, unbridled power of the curse erupted from deep within him. The curse flared to life, dragging Lucas's consciousness into a mysterious, empty space. Following the faint clues left behind, his search began anew. He finally pinpointed his target. 10,000 meters above, a lone jet sliced through the clouds, bound for the island nation.
On board sat Turner, the world's undisputed #1 hunter. Boss, if our destination is the island nation, why this kind of plane? Richard, have you forgotten our guild's creed? Of course not, sir. Let your guard down for an instant, and danger will find you.
I understand your meaning. I'll be more vigilant from now on. 15 years ago, during the Great Cataclysm, I was already a top-tier A ranker, and I nearly died. In the end, it was the Western hunters who saved my life. Shortly after, a transcendent from another dimension granted me a unique skill, a power that quickly catapulted me to the rank of the world's strongest.
After the calamity ended, the great hero Scion himself entrusted this relic to my care.
Turner gazed at a dimensional fragment. Number 2, pulsing with golden light. This is the first time in 15 years it has ever resonated. What exactly is unfolding in the island nation? I must uncover the truth behind this disturbance. At that very moment, above Ginza, a sinister demonic energy coiled and thickened in the air. Hunters from all over swarmed the city. The corruption was thickest here. The subspace was guaranteed to tear open at its heart.
The renowned Great Sage Guild was tasked with defending the World Tree at the local hospital. Guildmaster Shinoda Shiro erected powerful magic circles to contain the encroaching darkness, while Guildmaster Takuchi dispatched his forces to support the other sectors.
He himself sat alone in the center of Ginza, calmly awaiting the coming storm, as the smaller guilds worked to evacuate every last civilian. By the way, where did Hunter Sano disappear to? He mentioned having some personal matters to attend to. The scene cuts to a bustling shopping mall in Ginza, where Sano's team was loaded down with shopping bags. Even their golem, Little Stone, was carrying a backpack. Suddenly, Lucas appeared, sword in hand. How did you know we were here? I have no time to waste on pleasantries.
I'm here for Hunter Sano. Sano's eyes fixed on the holy sword in Lucas's grip, and he instantly recalled the story Shirosaki had told him.
If I could just copy that sword, he thought. Perhaps I could purify that vile dark energy myself. With that thought, Sano vanished without a sound. In the next instant, he reappeared directly behind Lucas, but just as his fingers were about to brush the hilt, Lucas reacted. Sano instantly pulled back. Don't try anything strange. I know all of your abilities, including your copy skill. Control plus C. The words hit Sano like a lightning bolt. How could he possibly know my secret? Despite the shock, Sano tried to play dumb. Feigning ignorance is useless. My family and I are putting our lives on the line for this. As Lucas lunged, Sano instantly activated his shadow movement skill. He materialized behind Lucas once more. However, Lucas's holy sword was the absolute nemesis of all dark-type skills. Lucas unleashed its power. The sword erupted in a brilliant, blinding light. This is bad, Sano thought. I can't use shadow movement. That is the power of the holy sword. Its light purifies all darkness within a 10-meter radius. Now, let's see where you can run. This is getting troublesome. Should I draw the Kitia dragon sword, you know?
I've been searching for you for a very long time. I need to know how you command the Control plus C skill. I see it now. You're one of the cursed, too.
You're planning to kill me and steal my ability. You're no different than Kurosaki. Those words ignited a firestorm of rage in Lucas. He charged with blinding speed. Caught completely off guard, Sano was run through by the holy sword. Lucas couldn't believe it was that easy. But this was all part of Sano's desperate gambit. He had finally made contact with the blade. Control plus C. The holy sword began to merge with its user. Sano had successfully copied the legendary weapon. He immediately pulled out a high-grade healing potion. The moment he drank it, his grievous wound sealed itself shut. Only then did Lucas realize Sano had let himself be stabbed, all for the sake of copying the holy sword. I will ask you one last time.
What do you intend to do with Control C? Do you even have to ask? My goal is to become the world's strongest hunter, an existence beyond even the transcendent ones.
But Lucas was not satisfied with that answer. He raised his sword and charged again.
We don't have time for this, Sano shouted. Didn't you hear the warning when you first received the curse?
There are only 5 years left until the next great cataclysm. Lucas was floored. He truly didn't know. The curse had flooded his mind with too much information at once. He hadn't been able to filter it all. This hourglass mark, it's a countdown. Just then, a strange rumble echoed from the heavens. Is it starting now? Someone whispered. The dark subspace from another dimension was finally tearing its way into their world. Once it fully manifests, it will create a zone of contamination. Inside that field, Every hunter's HP and MP will be reduced by 30%. On top of that, the use of most magic skills will be completely restricted. If this subspace is allowed to open fully, this city will become a living hell. The elf's mission is complete, a voice mused from the shadows. Perhaps it is time I return to report. In that very instant, a storm of black lightning descended upon Kurosaki. And with it, Shiroaki and Ares made their grand entrance. Going somewhere, you're not leaving this place alive. Shiroki's voice dripped with scorn. It's far too late. The subspace gate cannot be stopped. This entire city is doomed, Shiroaki declared. But that matters little to me. My only target is you. The subspace is negative energy. It means nothing to me, Kurosaki retorted. Did you really think you were the only one immune to debuffs? As he spoke, a longsword materialized from the very shadows in his hand. Allow me to demonstrate the true nature of dark magic. Meanwhile, back at the Hunter Association, a system-wide alert blared, notifying every hunter of the subspace breach.
I've never seen debuffs this powerful, one hunter shouted. It's restricting magic skills. How are we mages supposed to fight?
Mages across the city attempted to cast their spells, but their mana fizzled into nothing. Suddenly, a colossal tornado erupted.
From the city's heart? Then, a massive spatial rift ripped open for all to see.
From within the tear in reality, a lone figure emerged. It was the architect of this chaos, the mastermind himself. It seems everyone has arrived. Let the show begin. Below, the hunters were baffled. What's happening? A gate this massive, and only a single elf comes through. But then, they looked closer. From the depths of the rift, an endless sea of monsters began to pour out. The overwhelming numbers sent waves of panic through the crowd. Are you kidding me? How can we possibly fight a horde this size? A hunter cried.
The mastermind's voice echoed once more. I have waited 15 long years for this. Now, my children, unleash your fury.
Instantly, the monstrous army charged forward as one, but a single bald man stepped forward to meet the tide. You think mere numbers will grant you victory? You gravely underestimate us. With a roar, Tekuchi activated his signature stone armor. His fists became living boulders, shattering every monster they met. He declared, My stone armor requires no magic to activate. Fighting you one by one is a waste of my time. Come at me, all at once. Tucci's taunt drove the monsters into a mindless rage. But in the next instant, they were utterly annihilated by an overwhelming force. Master Tucci is incredible. Let's go. We need to support him. And so, the two armies finally clashed in a chaotic storm of battle. Hunter Nanise also dove into the fray, her blade at the ready.
Elsewhere on the battlefield, President Fua found himself being swarmed by monsters.
Just as their claws were about to strike the guildmaster, President Fua summoned a colossal shield, halting their assault dead in its tracks. Then, he raised the shield high and swung it down like an executioner's axe, cleaving the monster before him cleanly in two. Such was the force of the blow that it tore through the monsters behind it as well. This was no mere shield. It was a blade of immense power. Even without activating a single skill, its raw destructive power was off the charts. While titans like President Fua and Master Tucci could handle these beasts, the other hunters were struggling to survive. The enemy's numbers were simply too great. If the battle continued like this, their defeat was inevitable. It was then that Nanise found herself in the sights of a new predator. A giant bird dove from the sky, and Nanise dodged just in the nick of time. It was a boss-level griffin, level 150, a master of the ambush. It was a true boss-level monster. Are they really sending out bosses this early in the fight? A hunter wondered in disbelief, but the griffin itself wasn't the most terrifying part. The true danger was its breath of inextinguishable flames, a fire that burns its target completely to ash. And with our recovery skills sealed, Nanise thought grimly. If anyone is hit by that fire, it's over. I have to stop it before it attacks. But it was too late. In the next instant, a torrent of terrifying flame erupted from the griffin's maw, screaming directly towards Hunter Nanise. Nanise's eyes widened in horror. This is bad, I'm going to be incinerated. But just then, a figure flashed into existence right before her, and in the next breath, the hellfire consumed them both. But from the heart of the inferno, President Fua stood firm, his colossal shield parting the flames like water. Hunter Nanise, this one is yours. Take its head, don't let it breathe fire again. With her orders received, Nanise charged toward the beast without a shred of hesitation. Sensing her approach, the griffin unleashed its flames once more, engulfing the entire area in a sea of fire. But a mere wall of flames could not stop Nanise. She leaped high into the air, bringing her witch's blade down upon its head. But incredibly, the beast dodged. It then raised a massive claw. Preparing to crush her from above, Nanise swiftly raised her blade to parry the strike. Damn it, I never expected a beast this large to be so fast. Just as its claw descended, The griffin suddenly sensed a new threat. It shot into the sky, narrowly avoiding another attack from President Fua. I think I just made things worse, Nanise muttered. With the beast airborne, it had become even more difficult to handle. From that height, the griffin could rain down fire unimpeded. Nanise, get behind me, President Fua commanded. But instead of retreating, she charged forward. Guildmaster, provide me with cover. I know I can take that thing down. A faint smile touched President Fua's lips. Then, with all his might, he hurled the giant shield catch model. Using her shield as a foothold in midair, Nanise launched herself onto the griffin's back. She raised the witch's blade high and brought it down with devastating force. In a flash of steel, the griffin's head was sent flying. The colossal beast crashed to the earth with a thunderous impact. But their victory was short-lived. A foul, dark magic began to seep from the griffin's corpse, poisoning the very air. They had finally slain a boss-level monster, only for it to unleash an even greater concentration of corrupting energy. The horrifying truth dawned on them the stronger the monster, the deadlier its demise. Across the battlefield, the hunters found their skills sealed, and the monstrous tide began to push them back. We can't hold on like this. Use your trump cards. A mage tore open a magic scroll, and a brilliant magic circle erupted from it. An immense wave of force instantly tore the monsters to pieces. However, these powerful scrolls were one-time use items, turning to dust the moment their magic was spent. Well done. That power was incredible.
Don't celebrate too soon. I don't have many of these scrolls left. Just then, a hunter in red armor suddenly collapsed, coughing up blood and writhing in agony.
Ikanaga rushed to help, but in the next second, the same burning pain seized him, and he too coughed up a spray of crimson. What is happening? It's the contamination. The dark magic leaking from the corpses is poisoning us. A mocking voice echoed from the shadows. Too bad you're only realizing that now. It is far too late.
Every monster in this dark subspace has been infused with a corrupting aura. When they die, they release that cursed magic.
You thought killing them would lead to victory? But their very deaths are the poison that will bring about your end. Now, enjoy your despair.
Countless monsters still swarmed the subspace. Ikanaga stared at the unfolding nightmare, his heart sinking. Was this the end for the island nation?
But right then, a familiar voice cut through the chaos. Stand up! This isn't over yet. This is only the beginning. Sono's group had arrived on the battlefield, carrying bags both large and small. Ikanaga could only stare in shock. Before he could even form a question, Sono pressed a healing potion into his hand. Drink this first, Sano urged. Don't worry. From this moment on, leave everything to us. Ikanaga was speechless. Is this really the same Sono I once knew? He wondered. Sono then opened his system panel. First things first, let's deal with this nasty debuff, he declared, activating his unique skill control E-Magic Infinite copy. In the next instant, a torrent of pure magical energy erupted from Sano the hunters. Once powerless, felt their skills surging back to life.
Even President Fua felt the monumental shift in the battlefield's atmosphere.
While the subspace's oppressive debuff hadn't vanished entirely, this overwhelming supply of magic allowed the hunters to force their skills through it once more.
The scale of magical output, it's simply unbelievable, President Fua exclaimed in awe.
The elfman watched, his composure shattered. Sano was single-handedly overpowering the subspace's curse with a flood of his own power. How is this possible? The elfman seethed. Could it be Control Plus? However, even with this newfound hope, the sheer number of monsters was a tide that couldn't be stopped so easily. Undeterred, Sono's team pushed deeper into the front lines, still holding their mysterious bags. Suddenly, a group of giant monsters blocked their path. Are we getting too close? Someone asked nervously. Don't worry, Sano replied calmly. It's time. Open the bags. At his command, his team unleashed the contents. Countless small, round balls rolled out onto the ground. The nearby hunters stared in utter confusion. What in the world are they doing? One whispered. Go, my minions, Sono commanded. Take them all down. In an instant, the round balls began to shift and reform, sprouting wings and claws until they transformed into an army of small gargoyles. They immediately charged toward the giant monsters, but the first wave was effortlessly smashed to pieces by the creature's powerful fists. Damn it, Sono muttered, a flicker of doubt in his eyes. Even with so many of them, is it still not enough? But then, a swarm of gargoyles latched onto a monster's arm, crawling over its body like a tide of living stone, attacking its vulnerable points. Within moments, their relentless assault brought the massive creature crashing to the ground. It was a brutal but effective demonstration. Even an ant can devour an elephant if their numbers are great enough. Thanks to the gargoyles' unending attacks, the tide of the battle began to turn, and soon, Sano's gargoyles evolved. They reached level 3,
unlocking incredible new abilities. Skill 1 allowed him to create puppets based on his own image, and even recreate any that were destroyed. Skill 2, puppet armor, could transform the gargoyles into a suit of stone armor that covered Sono's entire body. Skill 3 granted Sono the ability to share senses with his puppets, while Skill 4 enabled him to give them complex, specific commands.
As the new information flooded his mind, a thrill of pure excitement coursed through Sono. He immediately commanded all the gargoyles to gather together. Before everyone's stunned eyes, they began to transform and merge into a single entity.
"Come forth, my combined beast," he roared. From the swirling mass of stone, a massive dragon began to rise from the ground.
It flapped its mighty wings, unleashing a powerful gust of wind as it soared into the sky. The other hunters could only stare, utterly speechless at the incredible scene.
Onlookers stared in utter disbelief. "Am I hallucinating?" Someone gasped. The gargoyle? It had transformed into a fearsome flying dragon.
The other drakes soaring through the skies instantly locked onto this new, stone-skinned behemoth. Without hesitation, they unleashed a torrent of dragonfire. In an instant, the stone dragon was completely engulfed in a searing inferno. The blast left it stunned and powerless. Seeing their chance, the other dragons dove in for the kill, striking the stone dragon's head directly. The stone behemoth plummeted from the sky, crashing to the earth with a deafening roar and shattering into a million fragments.
A wave of pity washed over the crowd. But then, the shattered pieces began to glow, each one reforming into a miniature stone dragon.
In a swarm, they shot back into the sky, hungry for revenge. The massive dragons saw this impossible sight and unleashed another blast of scorching flame. Once again, the stone drakes were consumed by fire, but their bodies began to spin like drills, creating a vortex that deflected the inferno. The next moment, they burst through the wall of flames, completely unscathed, like living bullets. They pierced straight through the massive dragon's hide. Their velocity was unstoppable. Soon, the skies were cleared of all hostiles. A massive flood of experience points washed over me, triggering several level-ups in a row. Nearby hunters could only watch the scene, their jaws agape. With the skies clear, we could focus on the ground assault. I activated auto-hunt mode. Lucas stood frozen, staring at the piles of dragon remains. Is this the true power of the control skill? He wondered. It feels like it's already surpassed the power of the curse. Could the curse truly be purified? Just then, Sono materialized behind Lucas. He demanded to know who had opened the subspace. But Lucas would never betray his family. No matter what, he would not speak. "Let me give you a warning," he said grimly. "The real chaos hasn't even started." As if on cue, the very ground beneath them cracked apart. Countless vines erupted, snaring Sano in an instant. Lucas barely dodged the initial assault. But the vines were relentless, lashing out at him once more. Leaping back again, he immediately drew his holy sword, its sacred light flaring, ready to purify the corruption. But before he could strike, his limbs were ensnared. The vines surged, swallowing him whole as they covered the entire area. Damn it, what are these things, he thought? This isn't natural. Someone has to be controlling them. Looking up, he saw a figure floating in the air. An elf. Why would an elf appear in our dimension? Master Shiosaki arrived in a flash, but his legendary black lightning couldn't even scratch the elf. "Don't you get it?" The elf sneered with contempt. "I have already conquered the corruption of dark magic." With that, he lunged at Master Shiosaki. The dark energy coating his blade met Shiosaki's shield, and the barrier didn't just break. It dissolved into nothing. Although Shiosaki leapt back with incredible speed, a searing line was still carved across his face. "Not just anyone can bypass my defenses," Shiosaki muttered, as the elf's dark aura grew suffocatingly dense. How can he wield such immense power? He wondered. Then the horrifying truth hit him. I suspect he absorbed my black lightning. Suddenly, Kurosaki unleashed a devastating sword strike. A colossal wave of energy tore toward Ares and Shiosaki, forcing them to dive for cover. The attack cleaved a nearby building clean in two. "Your mortal techniques are useless against me now," Kurosaki roared. As he prepared to strike again, Ares reacted instantly, unleashing a wave of ice magic that froze Kurosaki's feet to the ground. Shirosaki was surprised. "Has the subspace's debuff disappeared?" he asked. "You can wield magic again?" "No," Kurosaki replied. "This is likely the effect of Sono's infinite magic. I can only access about 50% of my power, but that's more than enough to stall him." As his own magic erupted, the ice restraining him shattered instantly. Ares tried to use the same freezing spell again, but this time, Kurosaki anticipated it. Leaping high into the air, he dove down toward them like a hawk. "Did you really think you could trap me?" Kurosaki mocked. "I am the guildmaster of the Blood Tower Guild." At the last second, Ares conjured a magic barrier. "You might not know," he said. "My dark magic devours ordinary magic to grow even stronger." As he spoke, the protective barrier began to fizzle and dissolve into nothing. Seeing his defense crumble, Ares made a split-second decision. He pulled a magic scroll from his coat and tore it in two. The magic runes blazed to life, weaving a new barrier into existence. "Are you struggling in your death throes?" Kurosaki sneered. Planning to absorb its power, he raised his blade for the killing blow. But in the next second, the barrier shattered into 1,000 shards. Fortunately, Shirawaki leaped in front of Ari, shielding her just in time. He unleashed a tempest of black lightning at Kurosaki. Kurosaki swiftly raised his sword, deflecting the deadly assault. Seizing the opening, Ari summoned her ice magic once more. A storm of frozen spikes shot towards Kurosaki, trapping him in an icy prison. "Tell me," Ari commanded, her voice like frost. "Where did you get the shadow movement skill? Otherwise, I'll grant you a fate far worse than death. You chased me all this way. Just for this," Kurosaki scoffed. "Did you know Lucas told me some rather interesting things?" An ominous aura erupted from Kurosaki.
A torrent of magic instantly engulfed Shiosaki. When he opened his eyes again, his surroundings had changed.
He was back in the cave. Below him, a man lay on the ground. It was Nani, his own brother, dying from magic poisoning. Meanwhile, on the other side of the battlefield, the elf approached Lucas, taking the holy sword from his trembling hands. "I never thought I'd get my hands on this so easily," he mused. "You were after the holy sword from the very beginning, weren't you?" Lucas accused him. "Not quite," the elf replied. "Your Control F ability is also crucial. It's the key to finding Control C. With the holy sword's power combined with Control C, I might just be able to save my world." He paused. "Let me tell you a secret. In the elf world, some of us are born with a curse. And I am one of them." "What? Michael, you're cursed too," Lucas exclaimed in disbelief. "So that's why you want to steal Control C." "That's the unfortunate truth," Michael admitted. "But even if I wanted to, I cannot absorb a curse from another dimension."
The original plan was for me to kill you, forcing your curse to transfer to me. Rage blazed in Lucas's eyes.
So they were going to discard him from the start. Just then, a voice echoed from behind Michael. "Now that sounds interesting."
Sono appeared in a flash. He raised his sword for a surprise attack, only to be blocked by a wall of vines.
"So you've copied the shadow movement skill," Michael observed, sending the vines lashing toward Sono. "It was you, wasn't it?" Sono shot back. "You opened the subspace that threw this city into Chaos Control 5 giant king spider silk. In an instant, countless strands of spider silk shot out, weaving a web around Michael. "Is this your curse-copying skill? How absurd," Michael scoffed. His body erupted with thick vines, forming a protective barrier. "Something like this can't even scratch me." "Are you so sure about that?" Sano challenged. Suddenly, the spider silk bristled with countless sharp spikes. The spiked threads tightened, contracting around the vines with crushing force. Soon, the defenses were pulverized into splinters. Michael leaped back the moment his vines shattered. "You didn't just merge your skills. You strengthened them. Is this the true power of your curse?" Sano teleported behind him again. "What's wrong? Afraid of what I can do?" Michael narrowly dodged another strike. "Yes, and that only makes me want your power even more." Funnily enough, I was about to say the same thing. Sano's hand shot out to touch him, activating his ability. "Control C, search subspace." No copyable object found. Sono's eyes widened in disbelief. "A pity. You can't copy a single thing from me," Michael retorted. Michael's vines surged forward once more, wrapping around Sano and trapping him. On the other side, Lucas finally broke free from his own restraints. This was bad. Without the Holy Sword's power to suppress it, Sono knew he was losing his grip on the Control F curse. Suddenly, a massive, overwhelming flood of information slammed into his mind. Sano's phantom and Michael's phantom. Their energy was linked. How were they connected? Was the subspace the key? There had to be a way for Sono to copy Michael's skill. Meanwhile, the battle raged on elsewhere. Kurosaki had just shattered the last of the ice spikes. Master Shiraki was still lost in the illusion, completely defenseless. "All I have to do is kill this mage, and victory is mine," Kurosaki declared, charging straight for Ares. Ares threw up an ice wall to block the assault, but it shattered like glass. An overwhelming wave of magic closed in around him. Ares retreated, but he knew it was hopeless. "Just give up and die," Kurosaki sneered. But then, Ares' magic began to transform.
Only those who master a single path can be truly powerful. How could I possibly lose to a hack like you?
Kurosaki suddenly realized the sky had grown dark. He looked up in horror to see a colossal iceberg plummeting from the heavens. Its terrifying power obliterated the entire street. "Are you insane, dropping something like that in the city center?" Kurosaki screamed. "I seriously thought I was going to die." He panted. And in that moment, His body was frozen solid once more.
Don't worry, Ares said calmly. All the civilians were evacuated. Now, you get to face Master Shiraki's wrath.
Only then did Kurosaki see it. Floating in the sky above, Shiraki had broken free from the illusion. How did you do it? Did you absorb the abyss itself? Kurosaki demanded. I told you, didn't I? I would be the one to personally send you away, Shiraki replied, unleashing a terrifying blast of energy that pierced straight through Kurosaki. But there was a strange, cold light in Master Shiraki's eyes now. Don't you have questions for him? Ares asked, surprised. Not anymore. I already have the information I need. Sending me into the abyss was his greatest mistake. Shiraki continued.
Within that darkness, I found a clue. A way to overcome the addiction to dark magic. But first, we need to get to Sono.
What? What did you see in the abyss? Kurosaki gasped. I found the hope we need to win. At that moment, Sono's battle was reaching its climax. Sano vanished in a blur. He reappeared behind Michael, swinging his blade in a deadly arc, but Michael parried it with the holy sword in his hand.
Your teleportation skill is far too annoying, Michael remarked. Allow me to seal it for you. Michael plunged the holy sword into the ground at Sano's feet. Instantly, the shadows beneath him were purged by holy light.
There, now you can't teleport anymore. In the next breath, Michael summoned vines from the earth, trapping Sano once more. Sano was completely ensnared, unable to move a muscle. Michael raised his sword for the final strike. Sano desperately brought his own blade up to block, but his longsword shattered like glass on impact. Impossible. It seems an ordinary sword is useless here. Control 5. Activate. Kisia Dragon Sword. In that instant, Sano unleashed his most powerful trump card. A single devastating strike shattered the vines that bound him. A massive wave of sword light shot straight toward Michael. When the smoke cleared, Michael had somehow caught the blow. The Kisia Dragon Sword's power is truly terrifying.
Without the holy sword, that would have been dangerous. But don't think this is over. Sano leapt high, his sword raised, but before he could strike, a portal tore open behind Michael.
Michael vanished through it without a trace. Sano's devastating attack struck nothing but empty air. Suddenly, the portal reappeared behind him, and the holy sword struck Sano in a single vicious blow. Even with your sword's power, your combat experience is still lacking. Damn it, I never thought the subspace could be used for movement. How can I copy that? Lost in thought, Sano pulled out a healing potion. He quickly drank it down. High-grade healing potions can fully close external wounds, but they can do nothing for the damage inside. These potions are crafted with divine power, so they can't heal the cursed wound from the holy sword itself. Let's see what else you can copy. There's nothing left for you to steal, but as it turns out, I don't need anything else. As soon as he spoke, a torrent of hellfire blasted straight at Michael. Damn it, who is this? The massive blast of power ripped the holy sword from Michael's grasp. It flew through the air and embedded itself in the ground nearby, forming a desperate shield against the inferno. Michael immediately summoned a wall of vines, barely managing to hold back the flames. It was Hunter Nanis, arriving just in time. Are you okay? Thank you. Your timing was perfect. Thanks to your gargoyles, most of the monsters are finished. Master Tucci is also on his way. At that moment, the holy sword flew from the ground and returned to Lucas's hand. Michael, I'll make you pay for this. Your flames are impressive, but how long can you maintain them? He then sent a barrage of vines to attack Nanis. My hellfire isn't afraid of your pathetic tree roots. Is that so? Then how about this? In the next second, countless vines suddenly sprouted from the ground around Hunter Nanis, instantly caging her in. In this situation, unleashing her hellfire would only burn herself. However, in the next moment, all the vines were sliced into pieces by the witch's own blade. I know more than just hellfire. While Michael's attention was on Nanis, Sano seized his opportunity. He teleported behind him, launching a sneak attack. A massive slash instantly engulfed her. But once again, she dodged it with her subspace ability. Looks like I need to get serious to deal with all of you, she said, her voice dripping with malice. She waved her arm, and the very ground beneath Nanis and Sano began to crack and splinter. Soon, sinister flower buds emerged from the earth, continuously releasing waves of dark magic. Seeing this, Hunter Nanis immediately unleashed her hellfire. She intended to burn them all to ash. However, as the flowers burned, an even more potent dark magic spread through the air. The magic these flowers released was 10 times stronger than anything from the pollution tree. A single touch would mean instant corruption, and even worse, attacking the flowers would only spread their deadly spores even further across the battlefield. Damn, I should have copied the holy sword instead of shadow movement, Sano thought. But at this critical moment, Lucas activated the holy sword's skill. He instantly purified all the surrounding dark magic in a blinding flash of light. Both Sano and Nanis stared at him in utter disbelief.
They couldn't believe Lucas would actually help them. This unexpected betrayal instantly enraged Michael.
He unleashed a furious barrage of vines to attack Lucas. "You betrayed me first," Michael snarled. "So don't blame me for being ruthless." As Lucas parried the assault, he closed the distance in an instant, launching his own sword technique. Prayer thrust.
A storm of holy blades rained down on Missile, only to be deflected by his writhing vines.
One by one, they were devoured by his dimensional rift. "Do you truly believe you can win with the Holy Sword's power alone? How naive," Missile sneered. "Is that so?" Lucas shot back. "Under normal circumstances, yes. But I've discovered your subspace is part of a dark spirit, isn't it? I wonder what happens when a holy sword pierces its very core." In the next instant, the holy sword tore through the fabric of reality right behind him. Missile frantically commanded his vines to lash out, sending Lucas flying. But even as he fell, fissures spiderwebbed across the subspace, like a mirror on the verge of shattering. Nana seized her chance, lunging forward with her blazing sword.
"Looks like you have nowhere left to run," she taunted. Panic flashed in Missile's eyes, but his reaction was swift. A direct hit from that hellfire would be a fatal blow. Instinctively, he commanded his vines to form a desperate shield against the inferno.
But it was useless. The roaring flames devoured the vines in an instant. Staring into the raging inferno, where silence now reigned, they believed their foe was either ash or gravely wounded. In the tense silence, Lucas turned to Sono. "You can't copy Missile's subspace, can you?" Sono confirmed. "That's right. His subspace isn't a skill. It's an artifact, much like the Holy Sword. Missile, an elf from another world, uses that subspace as his gateway." Lucas pressed further. "But how can he remain in our world for so long? As I understand it, staying in another dimension for an extended period drains an immense amount of magical energy." "You're absolutely right," Sono agreed. "My theory is, Missile is using a specific artifact to anchor himself here. And that artifact is the true source of his subspace." The pieces clicked into place for Lucas. "So that's why, without physical contact, my copy ability is useless against it." Changing the subject, Lucas's eyes narrowed. "Why the sudden change of heart? Why cooperate with me now?" Sono met his gaze. "I admit, my first instinct was to kill you. But when I was trapped by those corrupted trees, you spared me. If you had killed me then, you could have taken my cursed skill for yourself." Lucas just shook his head. "You're overthinking it. I have no desire to become a skill hunter," Lucas stated, his voice firm. Nana, hearing all of this, grew more confused by the second.
What was this talk of copying a curse skill? And how in the world did he have the Kishia dragon sword?
Didn't he return it to Ares? An awkward silence hung heavy in the air, just as Sono fumbled for words.
A guttural sound echoed from within the inferno. Then, colossal vines erupted from the earth,
snuffing out the hellfire in an instant. There, atop the writhing mass, stood Missile. His body was a canvas of wounds, but his eyes burned with fury. "I only planned to play with you until Michael arrived," he sneered. "But it seems I underestimated your power."
The real battle begins now. In a blur, countless branches shot out, aiming for Sono and the others.
The heroes scattered, narrowly dodging the surprise attack. "Nana," Sono yelled, "use your flames, blind him."
Without hesitation, Nana unleashed a towering wall of hellfire, completely obscuring Missile's vision.
That was my cue. I vaulted onto the massive tree trunk and activated my ability Control-C on the corrupted world tree's branch. A seed, holding 1/3 of the world tree's power, was copied into my body. It promised the tree's life blessing once it fully bloomed. But there was a catch. Anyone carrying this seed would be forced to absorb it. If their health dropped below 15%, losing the ability to summon its branches, that means Missile is on his last legs. Seizing the moment, Sono unleashed the power of the world tree's branches. Sacred, golden branches burst from the earth. Missile could only watch in horror as the corrupted tendrils clinging to him began to dissolve. "Damn it," he spat. "That bastard. He actually copied the corrupted world tree." This was the opening I needed. I launched myself into the air, ready to end this while he was defenseless. Seeing me coming, Missile desperately tried to summon his branches, but nothing happened. His connection to the world tree had been severed. At the last possible second, he threw himself aside, but he wasn't fast enough. My blade carved a deep gash across his chest. "Damn it," he growled. "To think I would be brought so low." He reached for his subspace, his only escape route, but I was ready. Control-C. I unleashed a web of spider silken branches, trapping him completely. Missile struggled, his face a mask of fury. "Once elves cross dimensions, they become monsters," Hunter Nana declared, her voice cold as steel.
"And my duty is to eliminate monsters and protect the innocent, with a final decisive swing." A devastating wave of hellfire washed over him. Missile's agonizing screams echoed as he was consumed by the inferno.
I'm surprised that still didn't finish him. I thought, "You forced my hand," Missile snarled through the flames. "I'll drag this entire world down into ours." In an instant, a colossal tear in reality ripped open the sky behind him.
Stop him! Sono's voice was filled with panic. If that gate fully opens, our world is doomed.
He knew this rift was the subspace's true form. This was their only chance. Sono shot forward like an arrow, straight for Missile. His blade, glowing with a golden aura, impaled the desperate elf. Without hesitation, Sono used the momentum to charge directly into the subspace, dragging Missile with him. The shocking turn of events left both Nana and me completely frozen, unable to process what had just happened.
Inside the subspace, Sono found himself adrift in a new dimension. All around him was an endless, pitch-black void, a world of absolute nothingness.
Sano was already crouching low, his mind focused on a single command. Control E? He was trying to copy the subspace itself. A system message flashed. Subspace is an item linking to another dimension. Cannot be fully copied. Sano reeled in confusion. Could it be copied or not? Then another message appeared. Forcibly,
stripping the dark subspace from the target's body. A dimension key is required. Sano instantly drew the key, feeling it resonate with the stolen space.
He unleashed his power. Control E. The system announced an upgrade to level 3. Then a surge to level 5. Now, all copied items and skills could be stored in the subspace, bypassing compatibility restrictions entirely. Perfect, he yelled. Finally, I can copy the Holy Sword. At the same time, the captured missile began to speak of his past. My homeland and Greece. We were both driven to the edge of annihilation, he revealed. This subspace was stolen from the fallen elf king, Grammar. So to claim the complete subspace, I have to defeat him. Sono realized. Defeat him? Missile laughed without humor.
That man single-handedly obliterated my entire nation. I only survived because a dimensional rift opened just before he could strike me down.
I barely escaped. Arriving in this world, I sacrificed everything to bring this power with me. Wait, Sono interrupted. How did you turn it into a physical item? I used a curse from that dimension, Missile replied.
The revelation hit Sono like a physical blow. Another dimension possessed curses. But my curses are different.
I was as shocked as you are now. Learning this world had them too. The problem is, I cannot absorb this world's curses. I'm curious if your Control-C can. So you see, my curse was your true target all along. If I die, just press Control-E.
I will immediately tear open the gateway, connecting our two worlds.
And the Elf King Grammar will descend upon this plane. If not for me, he would have arrived 15 years ago. Why tell me this now? Because you are about to die. Before Sono could even process the words, a monstrous claw ripped through the air, aimed straight for his heart. Sono's instincts screamed, and he threw himself aside, barely escaping the devastating blow. He stared in absolute horror at the creature before him. It was a colossal dragon. How was this thing inside the subspace? This beast was on another level entirely. If that thing got out, it would be a catastrophe. As Sano desperately evaded the dragon's onslaught, a pillar of holy light erupted, blocking its path. Lucas was back on his feet. You've copied the subspace, haven't you? He called out. This dragon was brought here by Missile, corrupted by demonic energy. Leave this to me, Lucas declared.
Get out of here and seal this space now. But as the words left his lips, the dragon let out a world-shaking roar.
It shattered the Holy Sword's restraint, hurling Lucas through the air like a broken doll. He crashed to the ground, unconscious, the Holy Sword slipping from his grasp.
Seeing his chance, Sano acted instantly. He fired a strand of spider silk, snagging Lucas's body.
Meanwhile, in the world outside, Hunter Nani received an experience notification. She'd only fought Missile, not killed any monsters. So it was true. Beings from other dimensions registered as monsters to the system. By now, hunters from all over had gathered. They stared at the shimmering crack in reality, debating their next move. Suddenly, the crack began to pulse violently. A massive explosion echoed from within, and 2 figures were violently ejected from the subspace. It was Sano, carrying the unconscious Lucas. He ignored the shocked gasps of the other hunters and sprinted back toward the portal. He had to close it before that monster could emerge. Sano's skill activated, and the entrance to the subspace began to shrink. But just as it was about to seal completely, a chilling system warning appeared. It read, due to immense internal force, the subspace cannot be closed and must remain open. How is this possible? Is it that monster? In that very moment of dread, the dragon's colossal head pushed through the shrinking rift. Then, its entire, terrifying body began to crawl its way out. Everyone watched, frozen in horror at the giant beast before them.
"Everyone, run for your lives," someone screamed. "We can't fight that thing." Maul recognized the creature immediately.
That's a dragon, he choked out. 15 years ago, a single one of them wiped an entire kingdom off the map. The dragon was finally free, its massive form sending Sano, still at the portal's edge, flying. Damn it all, Sano cursed. I have to stop it. Instantly, he unleashed his power. Control 5 world tree branches. In a flash, countless branches erupted, coiling around the dragon and binding it completely. It worked. The beast was restrained. But just as a wave of relief washed over them, the dragon roared with raw power. It shattered its bonds, unleashing a torrent of hellfire. Damn it, Sano screamed. It's preparing its breath attack. Everyone, scatter. But at that critical moment, Hunter Association President Fua stood firm, raising his massive shield. It's too late, he boomed. Everyone, get behind me. Master Shiosaki frantically guided the survivors to safety behind the president. In an instant, the dragon unleashed a torrent of flame, turning the world before it into a blistering sea of fire. Miraculously, not a single life was lost in the inferno. The dragon's scales were like diamond. Neither blades nor magic tea could leave a single scratch. But I have a plan. We can use Michael to eliminate that beast. The only problem is, his true target is you. Just then, a helicopter sliced through the sky above the chaos. Should we move now? Not yet. We must wait for the dimensional fragment resonance to peak. Music. Meanwhile, on the eve of the Great Clash, Missile and Michael were making their final moves. I'm leaving this to you. You will be the one to tear open the dimensional door. Hunter Sean has likely already set countermeasures to ensure that door can never be opened again. And take this. It's the Guardian Stone, passed down through the generations of my elven clan. If I should fall in battle, it will blaze with a brilliant light, guiding you to my true killer. That will be your signal to strike. Back in the real world, the Guardian Stone in Michael's hand pulsed with a crimson glow. A beam of red light shot down from the heavens, pointing directly at Hunter Nanise below. All the while, the dragon continued its rampage, tearing the city apart. The other hunters could do nothing but desperately evade its wrath. That's when Master Shirawaki raised his staff to the sky, unleashing his ultimate skills like lightning. But even that devastating dark magic proved useless against the dragon's hide. The only effective method would have to be a physical assault, but the sheer scale of the creature was overwhelming. For ordinary hunters, to even try would be suicide. The casualties would be catastrophic. Damn it, if only Master Tuchi Tsuyoshi were here. He might have a solution. Where did he vanish to at a time like this?
In a quiet corner of the battlefield, 2 hunters stumbled upon a strange, writhing sludge. Suddenly, its temperature began to skyrocket.
With a thunderous crack, a figure of stone erupted from the muck. It was Master Tuchi Tsuyoshi, reborn in the dragon's very own flames. His gaze fell upon the rampaging dragon as he roared. Damn it all! That thing is enormous! At his side, small stone gargoyles clawed their way out of the earth. Across the field, I tried once more to use the branches of the world tree to restrain the dragon. But it was no use. That's when Lucas suggested, we can force it back into the subspace. No, if we do that, I'll be locked out of my own subspace. But we can use the Holy Sword. I know you copied the Holy Sword while you were inside. Replicate it tens of thousands of times. And simultaneously imbue them with the power of Holy Light. Theoretically, that could work. But the real problem is, how do we push that monster into the subspace? Just then, Master Tuchi Tsuyoshi appeared from behind. Kid, he grunted. I need to borrow those stone gargoyles of yours. I was confused, with no idea what he intended. I'm going to make that overgrown lizard pay, he declared. In that moment, an alliance was forged. The plan was set. I would open the door to the subspace, and Master Tuchi Tsuyoshi would be the one to shove the dragon through. Immediately, the cores of the stone gargoyles were replicated. Countless copies were made. The instant they touched the earth, they sprang to life as a legion of stone soldiers. Master Tuchi Tsuyoshi stepped forward, slamming his fist into the ground with immense force. I never expected the effect would be this powerful. The stone gargoyles resonated perfectly with his armor. But the dragon was already getting back to its feet. It was clear one hit wasn't enough, and Tuchi Tsuyoshi prepared to strike once more. However, I acted first. I seized control, commanding the entire legion of gargoyles to fly directly into the dragon's open maw. The dragon snapped its jaws shut, crushing them instantly. But that was never my true objective. The remaining gargoyles inside its mouth were primed to self-destruct. Seconds later, a massive explosion erupted from within. The devastating attack knocked the beast unconscious, sending it crashing to the ground. A roar of victory erupted from the hunters below. They thought it was over. They thought we had won. But I had no time to explain. I sprinted towards the fallen beast, knowing I had to get it into the subspace before it woke up.
I activated Control 5, opening the dark subspace. A shimmering crack in reality tore open right behind the dragon.
Master Tsuyoshi, I yelled. Can you do it again? Your stone gargoyles are all destroyed. I can't repeat that attack. The situation turned awkward. If I copied brand new ones, their levels would be far too low. At that critical moment, Hunter Nin stepped forward with a new plan. We can use Hellfire's shockwave, she said with urgency. We had to hurry. If it woke up, it would be dangerous. But just then, the dragon's eyes snapped open. Maul screamed for everyone to run for their lives. The dragon's jaws opened wide once more, gathering a new inferno. Without hesitation, Hunter Nin charged toward it. If we let it breathe fire, she cried, we're all done for. Just as the cataclysmic flames began to erupt, Nin swung Hellfire with every ounce of her strength. Her attack shot forward like a meteor, only to be swallowed whole by the dragon's breath. In the blink of an eye, the entire block was engulfed in scorching flames. Seeing this utter devastation, I instantly used my shadow movement skill. Teleporting directly to her side, I encased us both in a cocoon of spider silk, then launched the ball away from the inferno. We landed safely, far from the flame's reach. Nanice, are you all right? I asked, my voice tight with concern. I'm fine, she managed. But my witch's blade, as the words left her lips, her blade materialized beside us. I grabbed it on our way out, I assured her. Then I activated my skill. Control-C, a system notification appeared. Contact with Witch's Blade confirmed, commencing automatic copy. Due to a property conflict with the Holy Sword, the Witch's Blade will be stored in the subspace. I never realized I could copy items just by touching them with my silk. Nanice turned her gaze back to the dragon. That monster's fire. It's on another level. How are we supposed to stop that thing? She wondered aloud. Suddenly, a chilling voice echoed from above. This is the moment, the voice commanded. Control F-cut target object. Instantly, a pillar of yellow light rained down from the heavens, engulfing the dragon completely. But Nanice and I were caught in its radius as well. I stared up at the sky in shock, a terrible sense of dread washing over me. A system alert flashed before my eyes. Control F has been detected. An unauthorized user is accessing the skill. No. It's Michael, I realized in horror. From outside the light, Lucas's desperate voice yelled, It's a trap! Get out of there now! Wasting no time, I activated my own ability. Control 5 Giant King Spider's Silk. Instantly, a thick black mist exploded outwards, shrouding the entire area in absolute darkness. A deafening rumble shook the earth. And then the dragon, along with the ground it stood on, vanished without a trace. What just happened? Why is there a massive crater here now? And where did the dragon go? Who was that person? At that moment, President Fua's horrified gaze shot to my side. Nanice was coughing up blood, her face twisted in agony. Her arm was gone. Blood soaked through her coat, staining it crimson. A wave of panic swept through the survivors. Shinoda Satoru's voice broke as he cried out to me. Why did this happen to my sister Arita Sarah? She can fix this, right? Don't worry, I promised, my voice firm. I'll get her to Arita Sarah right now. I tore open a subspace and gently lifted Nanice. As I stepped through, he called out desperately. Sano-senpai, please. You have to save my sister. I just nodded. Leave it to me. The moment my portal closed, a helicopter descended. The emblem of the Rising Star Guild was emblazoned on its side. Moments later, Michael and his elite squad touched down. My apologies, he said with a condescending smile. That attack was a little excessive. Tsuchiyoshi stormed over, his face a mask of fury, ready to confront him.
One of our hunters lost an arm because of you, he roared. Michael merely shrugged his shoulders.
That dragon had the power to wipe a country off the map. A little extra force was necessary, Michael replied coolly. Losing just an arm. I'd call that a bargain. Hearing those callous words, Master Tsuyoshi's rage exploded. Just as the two sides were about to clash, President Fua stepped between them, intervening. Apologies for the interruption, President Fua stated formally. I am the president of the Island Nations Hunter Association. Regardless, we thank you for your assistance. But just then, Lucas stepped forward. He pointed a finger at Michael, exposing his charade. He's the one who orchestrated this entire attack, Lucas declared. The revelation sent shockwaves through both President Fua and Tsuyoshi. With his cover blown, Michael's facade dropped. A wicked smile spread across his face. That's right, he admitted. This was all my grand design. Unfortunately for you, you'll all be dying here today. With those words, he activated his skill. Control A. Select all objects for deletion. Meanwhile, Sano raced through the subspace, carrying Nanice. He quickly reached the hospital's coordinates. Just as I thought, Sano mused. With the subspace, I can bypass the corrupted tree's barrier freely. Inside the hospital room, A rift in space suddenly tore open. Sano emerged, Nanise still cradled in his arms. Sarah, I need your help with Nanise's arm, now.
Arita Sarah stared, frozen in shock at the horrific sight. Sano didn't wait, immediately activating another skill. Control 5 Paste Infinite Mana.
He knew that with an infinite supply of mana, Arita Sarah could absolutely restore Nanise's arm. He then cast Control plus Reposition Target's arm. But what should have been a simple restoration was met with an unexpected error message. The absolute law of Control 10. Anything it severs cannot be restored. Arita. Sarah had never witnessed a power like this. Sheer panic gripped her. I can't restore her, she stammered, her voice trembling. Just then, a system window materialized before them.
This wound was inflicted by a separate curse. Restoration via Control Z is impossible. Damn it, Sano cursed under his breath.
If that's the case, what if I use copy and paste? With that thought, he copied the severed witch's blade. Control 5 Paste Witch's Blade. Just as Sano thought he'd succeeded, an error message flashed. Cannot paste objects severed by Control 10. The blade in his hand began to fade into nothing. Even this won't work. But Sano refused to give up. He copied the witch's blade 3 more times in rapid succession. But each attempt was met with a failure notification. The copied blades on the ground vanished in an instant. Damn it all, I refuse to accept this, Sano roared. Control 5. Infinite copying, he declared. Countless witch's blades materialized, only to instantly dissipate. He repeated the process over and over, copying and dissipating in a frantic loop. Everyone else could only watch, stunned, as a flood of error windows filled the air. And then, finally, one witch's blade appeared. And this time, it didn't vanish. An unknown error has occurred. Objects severed by Control 10 can now be copied and pasted, Sano realized with a jolt. I can't believe it actually worked. He turned to Arita Sarah and said with newfound confidence, let's try this one more time.
Back on the battlefield, an inverted triangle suddenly marked every hunter's head. This was Michael's skill. Control A. Select all. In action.
In the next moment, bolts of black lightning rained down from the sky, striking the marked hunters without mercy. The terrifying power relentlessly bombarded the members of the Rising Star Guild. Michael then activated Control H, swapping his position with a target. He vanished from his spot on the battlefield in a flash, escaping the devastating explosion he had created. You're good at dodging, a voice called out. Too bad for you. My specialty is area of effect magic. As he spoke, he prepared to unleash a massive attack. But in that very instant, Michael just smiled coldly. Black lightning is indeed a troublesome skill. Michael, then he snapped his fingers.
I'll deal with you first. The next second, several small black spheres shot towards Shirawaki.
Surrounded, Shirawaki had no path of escape. Any part of him touched by the spheres was instantly severed, falling lifelessly to the ground. You damned bastard, Takuchi Tsuyoshi roared in fury, charging headfirst at Michael. A massive impact echoed across the battlefield.
Countless fragments flew through the air. So this is the strength of the island nation's #1 guildmaster? How pathetic.
Michael scoffed from behind a semi-transparent barrier that had materialized before him. The moment Tokuchi Tsuyoshi's arm made contact, it was completely obliterated. What kind of skill is this? Even Tsuchiyoshi's attack had no effect, someone cried out in despair. Try not to be too surprised, Michael replied calmly, activating his skill once more. He used Control 10. Cut objects. A massive black sphere instantly formed in front of him. When the smoke finally cleared, only a colossal crater remained. At its edge, 2 figures stood behind an enormous shield. Old man, you should learn to mind your own business, one of them growled. This is no ordinary skill. I almost couldn't block it. Even my shield is cracking. Hearing this, Takuchi Tsuyoshi was completely stunned. But isn't that shield supposed to be indestructible by any weapon or skill? Tsuchi Tsuyoshi thought in disbelief. That was the legendary giant shield, forged from the bones of a legend. To think it could withstand even my curse skill. I advise you to give up while you still can, Michael warned.
Once the International Hunter Association learns of this, you and your guild are finished. And what if there are no survivors? And no evidence, Michael countered with a smirk.
With that, he activated his severing skill again. Control +10. Cut selected targets.
Countless black spheres appeared, smashing against the giant shield with devastating force. The terrifying power exploded across its surface. Let's see just how long you can hold on, Michael taunted. Under his relentless bombardment, President Fu
and Takuchi Tsuyoshi struggled to endure. In the next second, the shield's phantom form completely shattered. The terrifying black sphere then slammed directly into the shield's true form. Reeling from the massive impact, Tokuchi Tsuyoshi quickly grabbed President Fua's collar. President Fua barely dodged the fatal blow, but his legendary shield was now in ruins. Tsuchi Tsuyoshi wasn't so fortunate. Half of his body was completely severed. For the world's 5th-ranked hunter to end up like this, it's truly a shame, Michael declared. Do you really think this is your victory? Tsuchi Tsuyoshi retorted, electricity crackling around his body. In fact, even if my body is blown to pieces, this stone armor will never be damaged. His missing arm slowly began to regenerate. He transformed into a towering stone giant and swung a fist crackling with pure rage at Michael. But just as the blow was about to connect, Michael vanished with his teleportation skill. In the next instant, Michael reappeared behind Tokuchi Tsuyoshi. He activated Control +10 to cut the target, instantly obliterating the stone armor's arm. But as long as stones were near, the armor could regenerate in an instant. It raised its arm to strike again, only for Michael to sever it once more. Damn it, it's useless! Tokuchi Tsuyoshi roared in frustration. An endlessly regenerating golem. A power worthy of the world's 5th-ranked hunter. You bastard! Shut your mouth, Tucci screamed, swinging his fists wildly. But it didn't matter how he attacked. Michael simply teleported out of harm's way. Perhaps you've forgotten. Michael's voice echoed calmly. My world ranking is 2nd? With that declaration, he effortlessly sliced off another of the armor's limbs. Your methods are completely archaic, Michael stated with disdain. But just as quickly, the shattered limb rebuilt itself. Michael didn't relent, unleashing a barrage of dark slashes that raked across the golem's stone hide. It's futile, Michael sneered. It was a relentless cycle, a battle that seemed to have no end in sight. But a cold dread began to creep into Tokuchi Tsuyoshi's heart. Something was terribly wrong. The very earth around them was thinning out, the usable stones vanishing. So, you've noticed, Michael's voice dripped with condescension. Your massive form is shrinking. Soon, there won't be enough rubble left to even hold you together, he declared. My skill erases the very matter you control. I will wipe your existence from this world. Absolute panic seized Tsuyoshi at this horrifying truth. His stone armor was a fortress, built from endless blocks, a power of infinite possibility. It was the reason he had never known true fear. But now, his very foundation was crumbling, being systematically erased by the man standing before him. This reality was impossible to accept. Michael raised his hand, and with a single devastating motion, carved away half of the stone giant's body. The curtain falls now, Michael proclaimed. Instantly, dozens of shadowy orbs materialized, unleashing a merciless storm upon Tsuyoshi. As the dust settled, the golem crumbled into nothingness. Inside the collapsing form, Tsuyoshi was unconscious, plummeting to the earth below. The watching hunters stared in disbelief. Master Tokuchi Tsuyoshi had been defeated. Is there anyone else who wishes to challenge me? Michael's voice cut through the silence. In that moment, Eris, head of the International Hunter Association's research division, rose into the sky. Above her, a colossal iceberg began to form from thin air. I will deliver your judgment, Ares declared, her voice cold as ice. Michael simply laughed. Ha! You truly believe you have a chance. You're destined to meet the same fate as your mother. Do not speak of my mother, Ares shrieked, her arm slashing through the air. The mountain of ice plummeted towards Michael. Is this pathetic display the best you can muster against me? How utterly amusing, Michael scoffed. He raised a hand, and dozens of shadowy spheres pulsed into existence. The instant they met the ice, a cataclysmic blast tore it apart. The iceberg was cleaved perfectly in two, crashing down harmlessly on either side of him. But from his blind spot, a second iceberg hurtled forward. Michael reacted in a flash, unleashing his power once more. This time, however, he wasn't fast enough. The immense chunk of ice slammed into the heart of the city. A massive cloud of dust and debris instantly choked the air. Just as a flicker of hope ignited, Michael emerged from the wreckage, completely untouched. Do you understand the price of defiance? He asked. In the next instant, spheres of pure darkness materialized, trapping Ares from all sides. Ares erected her strongest barrier, but under Michael's relentless assault, it shattered like glass, sending her flying backward. Michael showed no mercy, moving in for the final blow. Just as the darkness was about to consume her, a brilliant golden light erupted. Mystical runes blazed to life across her outer coat, forming an unbreakable shield around her body. Even so, the sheer force of the impact sent her hurtling into a nearby building. Could that be Hunter Sean's immortal coat? Let's see just how immortal it truly is. He activated Control +10, a technique that could sever any target he chose. The entire building exploded in a flash of raw, destructive power. And yet, from the smoldering ruins, Ares emerged without a single scratch, shielded by the coat. For the first time, Michael faced something his curse could not cut, a fitting creation for the legendary archmage himself. As Michael prepared to strike Ares again, Maul charged from behind, sword raised, but the attack was sensed in an instant. A single sphere of darkness was all it took to neutralize him. Shinoda Storu rushed to his fallen comrade's side in a panic. Seeing the growing number of hunters, Michael decided to clear the board. He activated Control+A, targeting everyone in the vicinity. Once more, that ominous inverted triangle symbol appeared above each of their heads. As Michael's severing power washed over them, hunters began to collapse. The survivors could only watch in terror as their allies fell one after another. Fear gripped their hearts. They wanted to flee, but it was already far too late. An instant later, dark energy erupted under every single hunter. But to their utter astonishment, they were all still alive. It was President Fua, his shield battered and cracked, who had somehow managed to block the devastating attack. "All survivors, retreat now," he roared. "This is a fight that mere numbers cannot win." Just then, the president's eyes fell on Lucas, frozen amidst the chaos. Seeing the young man's trembling hands, Fua spoke. "If you are also afraid, then I suggest you leave with the others. Besides, you are under no obligation to defend this nation. I only ask that you live to bear witness to their sins." But Lucas was lost, drowning in the depths of his own memories. A voice from the past echoed in his mind. "Hunter Sean, why fight so desperately? Why go so far as to draw on the Holy Sword's power? This isn't even your homeland." The moment Hunter Sean laid eyes on Lucas, the truth struck him like lightning. "So, it was because of you that your parents cast me aside. A new age is dawning. One where borders and bloodlines mean nothing. An era of total war is coming, demanding we all fight with our very souls. Only then will you grasp the true weight of the Holy Sword's destiny. In that critical instant, fear is a luxury you cannot afford." As the ambush descended, Michael merely lifted a hand. "Control."
Target deletion initiated. A colossal sphere of pure darkness instantly materialized. But Lucas stood his ground, his will an unbreakable shield. Channeling the Holy Sword's sacred power, he tore the dark sphere asunder. But now that Michael possessed Control+, had he become truly invincible?
Not yet. The key to this battle lay in one thing: the Holy Sword's divine radiance. Radiance was a power that could nullify all forces of darkness. And since cursed power was so similar, the sword's light still held dominion over it. Radiance clashed with the curse, erupting in a stalemate of raw power, just as the Holy Sword was about to land a decisive blow. But suddenly, a blade as black as the abyss itself intercepted the holy weapon. For the first time, Michael had drawn his own sword. "I never thought a coward like you would dare show such insolence before me." "Shut your mouth, you monster!"
Fueled by fury, Lucas unleashed a storm of slashes. His strategy was simple in close-quarters combat. Michael's cursed abilities should be sealed.
"If this is a battle of pure swordsmanship, I am certain I can defeat him." But just then, Michael's chilling voice echoed. "I'm certain this is the worst decision of your life. Control+X." He had activated an ability that severed everything in the area. Everything except for the user. At this distance, not even your radiance can completely stop it. The next second, darkness consumed Lucas whole. A massive sphere of nothingness devoured the very landscape. But then, brilliant rays of light pierced through the suffocating dark. It was the Holy Sword technique. Radiant burst. Lucas barely escaped the void, but to his horror, a sickening crack echoed from his blade. In the next instant, half the sacred sword clattered to the ground. Despair set in. With his weapon shattered, how could he possibly fight back?
"Oh, so you had another trick hidden away. No wonder Ares' attack was so useless against you. But without your precious sword, what hope do you have left? Now tell me, where is Control+X?"
With those words, he seized Lucas by the throat. A sphere of volatile energy crackled to life in his palm. A silent, deadly threat. "If you don't tell me, I'll send you to the afterlife myself." But suddenly, the very fabric of space fractured behind him. Sono burst forth, wielding the legendary Kishia dragon sword. He swung with deadly intent, but Michael dodged by a hair's breadth.
"Stealing the curses of others by taking their lives. I will feel no guilt for ending a monster like you." At that moment, Michael felt a resonance from his dimensional fragment.
It could only mean this newcomer also possessed a fragment, and in his hands, the fabled Kishia dragon sword. So, this was the Control+X Michael had been searching for. As he prepared to attack, a torrent of hellfire roared towards him. Just before the inferno could consume him, Michael activated Control+X and teleported, vanishing from sight. In the distance, Hunter Nanis glared at him, completely unharmed. Nearby, Shinoda Satoru was overcome with relief, seeing his sister safe and sound. It was a miracle. Not even Master Kan's legendary healing arts could bring about such a swift recovery. But the one most stunned by this was Michael, who knew the absolute devastation his Control X should have caused. This meant her wound had been healed before it was even inflicted. Suddenly, Michael's attention was ripped towards a colossal surge of magic power. It was Arita Sarah, holding a giant's heart and treating Master Shiosaki. She possesses Control Z. She is my primary target.
Sensing his murderous intent, Nanis immediately unleashed the full power of her witch's blade. 2 beams of sword energy shot straight for Michael. However, he simply manifested a dark sphere, effortlessly neutralizing the attack.
Next, Sono activated Control 5. Using the branches of the World Tree, countless tendrils erupted from the ground, ensnaring Michael completely. Meanwhile, Shiosaki regained consciousness, only to witness his severed arm rapidly regenerating. And not only that, but his torn clothes and damaged equipment were also being perfectly restored. A skill that can defy the heavens. The mana cost must be astronomical. That's when Shiosaki's eyes fell on Arita, and the giant's heart pulsating in her hands. That bastard Sono, he thought bitterly. He swore he was selling me the only one in the world. It seems he's made quite a few copies, Arita explained. Sono wanted you treated first. We need your strength. Just a few minutes prior, Arita Sarah had offered to restore the high-risk patients in the hospital.
A feat that would require an immense amount of mana from Sono. In return, he had but one condition: Arita Sarah had to join the battlefield.
And treat the wounded soldiers. He then presented her with a giant's heart. Consider this hazard pay for entering such a dangerous place. Arita was deeply moved by his words. But Sono's next sentence shattered the moment completely. This heart is yours, but only for 10 days. I can set an expiration date on any replica. If you wish to make it permanent, your performance from now on will decide everything. The scene flashes back to the present, where Arita darted across the battlefield, tending to the wounded under Master Kinosaki's protection. In that very moment, the ensnared Michael shattered his prison of branches. With a deafening blast, Michael reappeared before them. You even copied the branches of the corrupted world tree. Those exist in another dimension. The thought that you can copy such things fills me with a burning desire to destroy you. Michael activated Control A, locking onto all personnel. Seeing this, Nice unleashed a torrent of hellfire. But the same trick won't work on him twice. A colossal sword beam shot straight for her. Yet, he merely raised a hand, used Control A, cut target, and shattered the attack with ease. Nace had already charged in. A massive wave of hellfire swept toward Michael. Seeing this, Michael attempted to use his old trick again, trying to nullify the flames. But after several tries, he was stunned to find the hellfire didn't just resist. It grew even more ferocious. With no other choice, Michael teleported high into the air. This inferno was becoming a real problem. He decided to eliminate Nace first. Activating Control A, he selected Cut Target. A massive sphere of darkness hurtled towards Nace. Just then, Control 5 activated, unleashing spider silk from the King Giant Foot Pearl. Sano used the silk to wrap around Nace, yanking her back from the brink of oblivion. Are you okay? However, Nace was furious at Sano's intervention. Stay out of my fight. Calm down. This guy is dangerous, Sano warned. Go help the wounded. Leave him to me. Right now. I'm the only one who can stop him. With that, Sano charged forward. A calmer Nace realized she stood no chance against his strange abilities anyway. So, she turned and rushed to aid the injured. Sano pulled up his system interface. He activated Control 5 to use Light and Shadow of Spider Silk, and triggered his shadow movement skill simultaneously. In a flash, he appeared behind Michael and lunged. But in the next instant, Michael was behind him. I can teleport too, Michael taunted. And I'm far better at it than you. Sano immediately spun, swinging his blade at Michael, but the attack was easily parried. Only the sword's energy grazed Michael's cheek. I never expected a mere replica to possess such power. Michael mused aloud. Michael activated Control 10, selecting Cut all objects around except myself. Instantly, the world was swallowed by darkness. Sano, however, remained perfectly calm. He activated Control 5, replicating countless holy swords. The next second, an army of holy blades surrounded Michael. Are you planning to take me down with you? Michael wondered. Have you forgotten about my curse? As the thought crossed his mind, a cataclysmic explosion tore through their location. The terrifying power obliterated the entire street. From a safe distance, Shinoda Satoru watched the explosion with grave concern. Just then, Master Shiroaki appeared beside him. If you're worried about Sano, he said, I believe you have nothing to fear. It's dangerous here, he added. You should move the wounded to the underground shelter. Meanwhile, back at the epicenter, holy swords and a Kishia dragon sword lay scattered in the dust. A hand reached out from the rubble. It was Michael. Picking up the blade, at that same moment, Sano successfully revived. I see. You can replicate your own body, Michael observed. By the way, may I have this Kishia dragon sword? Sano simply answered. Take it if you like. That sword is about to expire anyway. As Sano finished speaking, the long sword in Michael's hand began to crumble into light. It vanished that quickly. So, it has an expiration date, Michael muttered. If that's the case, Michael pressed. What's the shelf life of your body? Sano just replied. I have no idea what you're talking about, Michael scoffed. No matter, your curse is completely useless against me, Sano smirked. Are you so sure my curse is slowly eating away at your very essence?
When my curse power finally kills you, even if you copy and paste yourself back, you'll only return as a weaker version of yourself. The more I kill you with this curse, the weaker you become. Until finally, you'll face true death. Sona was stunned.
Everything Michael said was the absolute truth. Even after reviving, his power hadn't fully returned. His defense was only at 245, with a skill level of 7 and proficiency of 10. The odds of victory looked grim, but he still had one last gamble. If his health fell below 25%, the Kissia Dragon Sword's Berserk mode would activate. That power might be his only chance to defeat Michael. With that thought, Sano activated his skill. Control! Model. 5 branches of the world tree shot forward, but just as they were about to ensnare Michael, he vanished in a flash of light. Reappearing behind Sono, he thrust a jet-black longsword forward, carving a deep, bloody gash across Sono's neck. Sono's health plummeted below 25%, triggering the Kissia Dragon Sword's dreaded Berserk mode. Instantly, the blade in his hand pulsed with a furious crimson energy. Hoisting it high, Sono brought it crashing down. Michael could only watch in stunned disbelief. Sono's terrifying sword energy split the entire street in two, but Michael, shielded by his curse, activated Control 5, severing everything in his immediate vicinity. He narrowly dodged the world-ending strike. Michael sneered. That was a close one. I didn't expect that blade to have a berserk state. Too bad it's not enough to defeat me. Just accept your fate and descend into hell. With that, he unleashed Control 5 target. In an instant, black energy erupted around Sono, threatening to consume him completely. But at that critical moment, Sono activated his shadow movement, teleporting directly behind Michael for a swift counterattack. But his opponent had already sensed him. Michael invoked Control 10, a skill that cuts through all of reality around him. Both warriors were immediately swallowed by an absolute darkness, a void that would last for 10 seconds. Trapped within, Sono was brutally cut down, dying a painful death. But his own Control 5 skill triggered, allowing him to revive. He was now caught in a hellish loop of endless death and resurrection. Elsewhere, in another dimension, Lucas writhed in agony, overwhelmed by the curse's power. He desperately thought, if only I had a replicated holy sword. Just then, a coat was gently draped over his shoulders. Miraculously, the curse's grip on Lucas immediately began to weaken. A calm voice explained, My mother left this to me. I don't know its secret, but it seems to nullify most curse-type effects. Lucas was utterly speechless. Could this coat be? He wondered. At that moment, another voice echoed from behind him. Lucas, have you figured out the difference between Michael's skills and ours? Your suspicions were correct. They are no ordinary hunter abilities. The voice continued, revealing that Michael's Control X ability could sever any object from existence, erasing it completely. You must have felt it. The reason you can't unleash the Witch's Blade's true power? Something went terribly wrong during Michael's restoration. If this continues, his very existence might just crumble away. The voice then added, Not even Sono can perfectly replicate an item that has been severed by that power. Lucas's eyes widened. Are you saying Sono can't defeat him? He has only one weakness, the voice replied. And to compensate for it, he has been desperately seeking the giant's heart. The scene snapped back to the brutal battlefield. Michael's voice echoed with absolute authority. Control 10, the magic that surrounds you, has been severed. When the smoke finally cleared, Sono was on his knees, covered in wounds from countless deaths. He realized with dawning horror that his own Control 10 skill was no longer activating. Both fighters were now pushed to their absolute limits. Sono gasped for breath. Your curse, it eliminates the very magic around you. Is that why you need the giant's heart? Michael just scoffed. You figured it out far too late. What can a broken man like you possibly do now? A system notification flashed before Sono's eyes. The user is severely injured. All control skills are unusable. Sono frantically opened his inventory, desperately searching for any item that could turn the tides. And there they were. 3-dimension fragments. They were pulsing, resonating with the fragments his opponent held. So, you have them as well, Michael remarked. His tone laced with greed. His words sparked a sudden, brilliant idea in Sono's mind. The one who possesses the most dimension fragments can combine them, and their power grows with each new piece. With this newfound revelation, a glimmer of hope returned. Sono pulled a simple longsword from his inventory. It seems you can no longer use the power of your curse, Michael sneered. And what good is a pathetic longsword against me? In a blur of motion, Michael teleported before Sono, impaling him with his own blade. You and I exist on entirely different planes of reality. Before you die for good, hand over those fragments, Michael commanded. But to his surprise, Sono simply smirked. You want them so badly, fine. Take them. As he spoke, 3-dimension fragments materialized in his palm. Instantly, they began to glow with an intense, powerful resonance. The fragments hidden deep within Michael's inventory began to react violently. Didn't you know? Sono taunted.
The one with the greater number of fragments can forcibly extract them, no matter where you try to hide them. On cue, Michael's fragments tore their way out of his inventory.
And there's one last thing I forgot to mention, Sono continued, his grin widening. When all the pieces combine, they unleash a cataclysmic explosion. As the fragments violently snapped together, a terrifying blast rocked the foundations of the world. The explosion gouged a massive crater into the landscape, vaporizing everything in its path. Michael was left battered and covered in wounds. A grave miscalculation, he roared in fury. To think that thing would actually explode. Soon, his eyes locked onto his prize amidst the ruins. 4-dimension fragments were lying on the ground not far away. He teleported directly to the stone slab where the fragments lay. But as Michael reached down to claim his victory, another hand snatched them away first. It was Sono, revived once more by his copy-and-paste skill. He gripped the Kezia dragon sword, still glowing fiercely in its berserk mode.
You're still alive! Michael roared, his voice thick with disbelief. As Sano's sword descended like judgment itself, Michael desperately tried to teleport.
But he was a fraction of a second too late. The terrifying power slammed into him, and the force of the blade vaporized an entire city block in a blinding flash.
Let's see you get up from that, Sano muttered, his voice cold as steel.
Sano secured the dimension fragments in his system inventory. That was too close, he thought. For a moment, I honestly believed I couldn't revive. Just like that time in the Snow Mountain maze. Another miraculous recovery against all odds. Sano felt a grim sense of amusement. It seems I still haven't mastered this cursed power. Suddenly, a furious Michael rose from the rubble. He began to chant an arcane command. Control A.
Select all objects in this area. I will erase your very existence. Control N. Cut selected targets. A tide of black energy surged, consuming everything in its path. How is this possible? Sano's mind raced. Where is he getting the mana for a spell this massive?
Then the horrifying truth struck him. Michael wasn't drawing mana from the environment. He was burning his own life force to fuel this apocalyptic skill. This was a catastrophe. The range was far too wide. Not even Sano's shadow movement could get him clear in time. In mere moments, a void of pure darkness had swallowed half the city. Just then, at the edge of the encroaching sphere, a new figure appeared, twin axes in hand. It was none other than Turner Miller, the world's #1 ranked hunter. Is this dark sphere Michael's doing? He asked grimly. Yes, a voice replied, and it's far worse than we ever imagined. Beside him stood Shinoda Shiro, president of the Great Sage Guild. Boss, he reported, I've made contact with the White House. Their orders are to stand down. They forbid our interference. What about the International Hunter Association? Any response to our plea for help? 8. The military is already mobilizing. This is escalating beyond our control. It seems we have no other choice. Just then, Turner revealed the final dimension fragment. Don't be reckless, he warned. I came here for a reason. I'm breaking through. He took a battle stance, his eyes locked on the abyss. Transfer all of your mana. I will handle the rest. Without a word, Shinoda Shiro began channeling his immense power into Turner. A system command echoed, Control Plus. Begin storing magic.
Overwrite previously stored magic. As the energy surged, Turner's power level skyrocketed, now holding 10 times his normal capacity.
Grant user unique skills compatible with Titan Axe. Instantly, 2 colossal phantom axes, glowing with violet energy, materialized around him. Wielding his twin axes, now blazing with power, he leaped from the rooftop. He descended like a meteor, slashing directly into the dark sphere below. He's using my mana to enhance his weapons, Shinoda thought. But even this power alone won't be enough to shatter that domain. Just as Shinoda prepared to offer more aid, Turner's axes tore into the darkness. A new command rang out. Control Plus! Cut surrounding magic! The moment Turner's mana was drained, another skill activated. Control Plus! Release 4th layer magic. He was eliminating the sphere's power while endlessly replenishing his own. Then, Turner unleashed the 10th layer of Magic! A crack finally appeared on the dark sphere's surface. As he pushed harder, the fracture exploded outwards. The entire sphere shattered like glass. At its center, Michael could only stare in utter disbelief as the darkness across the city evaporated into nothing. Turner landed gracefully and approached Sano. "I can sense the presence of dimension fragments coming from you," he stated, his gaze intense. Sano was floored. Standing before him was a living legend. "Turner, the world's highest-ranked hunter. This thing on my neck is a dimension fragment," Sano confirmed. "What business do you have here? Are you here to steal my fragments, too?" Turner brushed the question aside. "This is not the time for talk. Let's deal with the real problem first." He turned his cold gaze toward Michael. "It's been a long time. If you're also after the dimension fragments, I advise you to leave now. You're just as annoying as you've always been." Michael sneered. "A complete and utter troublemaker." Just then, Shinoda Shiro landed beside them. "Sano, where are the others?" he asked urgently. "They're safe, inside my subspace." As he spoke, Sano held out his palm, opening a shimmering portal in the air. Immediately, Shinoda Satoru ran out, crying as he threw his arms around Sano. "Teacher Sano, I'm so glad you're okay." But the reunion was cut short by Michael's piercing voice.
That replication skill of yours, it seems I underestimated you. He conceded. I'm leaving, but first, you need to understand something.
"My goal isn't the dimension fragments. It's the control key skills."
Those supernatural forces that cursed us will return one day, and these cursed skills of ours will be powerless to stop them.
This is why the first hunter split the key into 5 fragments and sealed the interdimensional entrance. Opening that gate is simply an invitation for our doom. Are you truly prepared for what's to come the next time we meet? If you haven't grown stronger, you can go to hell. With that final warning, he teleported away. "Is it really all right to let him escape like that?" Shinoda asked. "Don't worry," Turner replied calmly.
The next time we meet will be his last.
After introductions were made, Turner took out his own dimension fragment. "I only have this one." "What about you? How many do you have?" Sano replied. "The rest are all with me." Hearing this, Turner's eyes blazed with an incredible excitement. He pushed them to fuse the fragments into a key immediately. "Calm yourselves!" A voice of reason cut through the panic. This entire distorted space was the result of 4 dimension fragments merging. The cataclysm that would occur if 5 were to fuse was unimaginable. Just then, a new proposal was put on the table. They needed to go to Country M. If they surrendered the fragments to them, a powerful guild could seal them away. "I refuse to go to that wretched place," someone protested. At that moment, an idea sparked in Sano's mind. He glanced over at Shinoda Satoru and the others. A guild, he thought. Perhaps it was time he created his own. 3 months after the cataclysmic battle with Control Plus X, they found themselves in the Nevada desert of Country M. As their transport vehicle breached the perimeter of the mysterious Area 51, the massive gates sealed shut behind them. By now, the grievous wounds Sano suffered in that great war had completely healed. "This is truly unbelievable," one of them gasped. "To think we'd actually make it into the legendary Area 51. It's all thanks to my connections with the higher-ups back home," another boasted.
You're looking at the world's most exceptional hunter, after all.
Shinoda Satoru leaned in and whispered to Sano. I didn't realize he had a sense of humor. Surprisingly, Ike Nagasa was with them in the car. He turned to Sano, asking, "Is it really all right for me to be here?" Sano gave him a reassuring nod. "Of course, you're a member of the guild." Master Takuchi then finally spoke up. "Did we truly come all this way just for a single item?" he questioned. "This facility isn't just for alien research," an official explained. "We also study hunters and phenomena related to the mazes. Our main focus is on artifacts from interdimensional races." Another added, "And most importantly, our latest research has been centered on the special skills known as curses." Hearing this, Arita Sarah's eyes widened in shock. Now she understood. This was the reason they needed her here. Everyone was united by a single, breathtaking goal to construct a stable passage to another dimension. But not everyone shared that dream. Opening a dimensional gate was more than simple research. It was a gamble with fate. "Barris, you're far too cynical," someone scoffed.
From humanity's standpoint, if that gate opens, it unlocks countless opportunities for research and development.
"Besides," he added, "it would bring us much closer to understanding Hunter Sano's father's work." Sano quietly absorbed their words. What was his father truly searching for? Uncovering that secret was the real reason he had come. This journey began 3 months ago, back at the H Country Hunter Association headquarters. A meeting was being held to discuss the aftermath of the war. By this point, Michael had been branded a global fugitive. "What is the status of the destroyed city?" "There is no need to worry," came the official reply. "The city is already undergoing reconstruction and is 80% restored." A wave of disbelief washed over the room. To restore so much. In just 1 week, How is that even possible? They demanded. My apologies, the speaker said firmly. But that involves classified information that cannot be shared.
We have special personnel whose identities must remain protected. What I can say
is that Sano deserves the lion's share of the credit for resolving this crisis. The room instantly erupted in hushed, speculative whispers. But Sano couldn't care less what they thought of him. He turned his attention to Nanessa, asking softly, "How is Lucas holding up?" Nanessa explained that while Lucas's family was powerful, he was currently being interrogated. She'd heard he had lost his position within the family. Most critically, he had already surrendered all of the holy swords to the state. Hearing that, Sano knew exactly what Lucas had done. After the battle, Sano had replicated a holy sword and pressed it into Lucas's hands, telling him to keep it. Ares had warned him, without that sword to suppress the curse, the pain would become unbearable. That's why Sano had insisted Lucas hold on to the replica, just in case. The scene shifts, showing Sano confronting Master Shiosaki about their path forward. "Why must we go to Country M?" Sano asked. Master Shiosaki's expression was grim. "You witnessed the explosion with your own eyes. Sano, that was the devastation caused by only 4 fragments merging. If that final piece joins them, the resulting power would be catastrophic. Tell me, is there any place in this country capable of containing such a force? What about your subspace? Can't you just merge them inside it? If only it were that simple. I've already tested that theory. The laws of this world are absolute. Dimension fragments refuse to merge in a subspace. That leaves only one possible location. The desolate desert region of Country M. Don't tell me you're planning to crawl to Turner's Guild. How could you even think that? Besides, there are 2 things I require your help with."
2 things after you deceived me with that fake giant's heart.
"You still possess the audacity to ask for my aid? I'm building my own guild. Will you help me?" The declaration sent a shockwave through Shirosaki. "Why create your own guild? You know my doors are always open to you. I'm sorry, but this is a path I must walk with my friends. To rise stronger together. A guild of my own, with no one to answer to. I like the sound of that. Later, at the Hunters Association office. Ares. I never expected to see you here. I'm in H country investigating my mother's disappearance. A nearby hunter, overhearing them, asked with a curious look, "You 2 know each other?" "Yes. We knew each other from before my mother vanished." Suddenly, a thought struck me. There was someone else the Western hunter met. Right after he met me. A researcher, formerly stationed at M Country's infamous Area 51. Does the name Sano Kazuya mean anything to you? For Ares, the name sparked a memory. He'd seen it in his mother's notes. They mentioned he was a supervisor at the research facility, specializing in items from other dimensions. The normally stoic Western hunter always seemed so gentle around him, almost like family. And just then, as if summoned by fate, Sono arrived. "You're talking about my father." The revelation hit the room like a shockwave. No one could believe it. Sano Kazuya was his father. In the blink of an eye, a week flew by, and Sono's guild was officially born. Is this really our guild's headquarters? It's incredible, and that makes me the 2nd official member. But another voice immediately cut in. "Hold on, I'm pretty sure I'm member number 2. You're number 3 at best," another retorted. "Why are you so obsessed with the order?" Just then, Hunter Nanise and President Fua arrived to offer their congratulations. "Sister, why not leave the association and join us? We would always have a place for you here."
President Fua sighed dramatically. The nerve of you 2. Trying to poach my people right in front of me.
As everyone was laughing, a figure appeared in the doorway. It was Lucas.